Now, the thing is, because I'm smarter than the average bear, I've been driving around the countryside looking at farms.
Yeah.
After hours football debate for poachers, private eyes.
Could I ask you something personal?
And pole dancers.
I'm not in market for business, love.
Mike Graham's been all three at some point in his career.
Oh, really, you great big sweaty bush idiot?
I'll tell you what, you were a better pole dancer than presenter, I can tell you that.
The Two Mikes on Talk Sport.
Look at the light!
We did 1066 and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And I played a Roman soldier.
Did you?
I was supposed to be sitting on a cardboard horse, and when I sort of tried to bump it up and down, went too close to the edge of the stage and I fell off.
Presumably you crushed the horse.
Well, the horse got crushed underfoot, yeah, exactly. And I
so
climbed
did you
back up on the stage and waved my spear.
30 minutes later, he was smoking crack in the lavatory and caught his hair on fire.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say, it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And now you've got to believe us, and now
What?
you've got to believe us, and now you've got to believe us.
Believe
We're going to win the league. Now, that's what the Leicester fans should have been singing at Spurs tonight.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one from the 70s?
I do remember it. Did I not sing that anymore then?
Well, I've never heard it in a football ground for years.
Well, you
and
wouldn't have
years.
heard it in Everton, I suppose, would you?
Sorry?
You wouldn't have heard it at Everton.
Well, I would have heard it in Everton, in the 70s and the 80s and the 60s, because in all those decades we won the league championship.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about in the last 20 years.
No. You'd understand. Football is cyclical. But what I'm saying is, I remember so well, being in Goodison Park or being away somewhere. I think it was at Main Road once, and, scoring some fantastic victory, 6 games to go till the end of the season, and now you've got to believe us, now you've got to believe us,
right.
and now you've got to believe
I don't want to keep hearing it.
We're going away, but that will echo. And what's the word I'm looking for? That will resonate. That's a good word. Well done. You found a good word. That will resonate with millions of our listeners out there who are traditional football fans like me, who can remember.
What, armchair football fans, you mean?
Sorry?
When you say traditional, do you mean armchair football fans?
Oh, do they have armchairs at Stamford Bridge where I'm going on Saturday?
You're going to Stamford Bridge, are you?
Yes, I am, yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they do have armchairs for the amount of money you're paying for.
Do they? Yeah, OK. And they have armchairs
You are the one who declared yourself...
Southampton,
Excuse me, you're the one who declared yourself to be the chairman of the Armchair Supporters Club.
All I'm saying is...
You said you were an armchair football fan.
I'm trying to give comfort and succour to fans who should have no shame in watching most of their football from the comfort of their armchair, because
what's wrong with that, then?
Me, you live 300 miles away from your club's ground... Then
you can only go when they come near you.
It is very difficult to get there and get back.
Why make any kind of personal sacrifice for your football team? That's absolutely ridiculous.
Excuse me,
why would you do that?
Why did you suddenly decide to put the boot in there and try and show me up?
You're
not showing me up, by the way. You're not showing me up.
I'm not putting the boot in.
People admire me for the way that I discipline
boot
myself in pursuit of my football team.
So
if you're not putting the boot in, why did you say, armchair, is it? You said that.
Yeah, because you've declared yourself to be the armchair chairman of armchair football fans.
You said that in a condemnatory manner.
No, you're not going to be paranoid again tonight, are you?
You were trying to put me down.
Not true.
Down, put me down. That's what you were trying.
Down, deeper and down.
Yeah,
actually.
and I'm not having it. So, you can go and put it in your pipe and smoke it.
All I'm trying to do is to keep you on the straight and narrow, because sometimes, you won't... I mean, it's not an insult to say you're an armchair football fan, because you've declared yourself...
Certainly not, but you tried to make it an insult, you see. See, I'm smarter than the average bear. I've already said I'm proud to be an armchair football fan.
Are you now saying, by the way,
yes.
What I've been saying all season,
what?
That Leicester City are possibly going to win the league and certainly will stay in the top 4?
Well, that was a huge result, because I'm the...
A simple yes or no answer.
I'm the individual who...
I'm the one who's been saying Claudio Ranieri's a great manager, will be fantastic for Leicester.
Yes.
I'm the one who has said very much against the tide all season, why should Leicester stop playing as well as they are?
But I'm the one who's been saying for the last month now, I think Spurs could be realistic challengers for the Premier League title.
And that's why they lost.
Well, what I'm saying is...
has hit them.
No, that makes Leicester's achievement, that makes Leicester's fantastic result tonight all the better.
Yeah.
Very, very much
better.
Great
goal by Huth as well, wasn't it?
Well, it was Huth.
It's a fantastic name. I love that name.
When he used to play
for
the
Huth system, isn't it? The Huth system in Star Wars.
When he used to play for Chelsea, and he played for Chelsea, I think, under Ranieri, his current manager. I think that's why he's playing for him now.
Yeah.
But when he played for Chelsea, when Huth played for Chelsea, I went there once when Everton were playing there.
Did you?
And honestly, all you could hear was Huth, because he came from German youth football and was brought up by Chelsea.
Huth
remarkably. Huth the youth, that's right, he was,
Good.
So, now
Great goal. Anyway,
then.
however, I mean, lots to talk about from last night. We're going to be talking to Rodney Marsh a little bit later on.
We need to talk about our fat friend.
Yes, we do need to talk about our
Mr.
fat friend.
Custis.
Mr. Custis, yes.
A great mate of mine, Neil.
Is he?
And certainly Louis
Was
Van...
he at the Sun when you were there?
Yeah, he was. He's been at the Sun all his life, I think. Louis Van Gaal.
Louis Van Gaal singled him out as the fat man.
Singled him out as the
He
fat
will now
man.
be forever known as the fat man.
Well, he will, but he is, I mean...
The only other person I've ever known in my life to be known as the fat man
Yeah.
was Sidney Greenstreet in Casablanca.
Sidney Greenstreet.
You know,
I don't
who
know
played
who he was.
the fat man. You don't know who
Who was
Sidney
it?
Greenstreet was?
Sidney
Well, you've seen
Greenstreet.
Casablanca. Don't tell me you haven't seen
Yes,
Casablanca.
of course, I've seen Casablanca, yeah.
Well, the big guy in the white suit.
Oh, yeah?
The Blue Parrot.
Oh, yes.
You know,
yes.
who Rick,
okay.
goes to sort of, do his business, the black market business with.
I see.
A huge guy that's always swatting flies.
Yes, I remember him.
Yeah, well, he was known as the fat man.
Oh, right, okay. Because...
You've got no interest in that sort of, cultural experience.
Yes, I have. I've known a few people who are the fat man. I mean, for instance...
No, but I mean, who was known as the fat man? I mean, who would ever be called the fat man?
There's a couple of colleagues here at TalkSport who could vie for the title.
No, but what I'm saying is nobody's been called
I'm not
it,
going to
though.
name names, of course.
No, that wouldn't be right.
In fact, I'm not even including you in that because there
Well,
are
I'm
people
very glad.
who are more gross. But nevertheless, not nice.
Well, I mean, you're one of them, for a start.
Don't be ridiculous.
Well, I keep offering you the chance to bring a waistcoat
Don't be
in, weigh
utterly
yourself,
ridiculous.
tell me what your
we'll
waist
do
size
that.
is,
Now-
tell me what your shirt collar size is.
I mean, there was
etc.
so much about the football tonight was brilliant
Yes.
that I was in awe of it all happening. And I have held my hands up and said...
Well, I was astonished
young
when
John
I saw that you
Stones-
admitted on Twitter that John Stones committed a foul in the penalty area,
I thought
which
he did.
should have been a penalty.
But I thought it was what I called a... What's the word I'm looking for? It was... what's it called when you go across
A foul.
the top of water?
It was a foul.
No, you know what I mean. You go across
When
the top
you
of
skid.
water. No, it's aquaplaning. It's what I call the aquaplaner.
No,
because what
you
I
know
was,
what it is? It was exactly the same manoeuvre that he made against Stoke, where he got the ball supposedly, and then you were moaning that it wasn't a penalty.
Well,
and this time he didn't get the ball at all, didn't get anywhere near it.
I would call it the aquaplaner because he sort of went in on it, and then all of a sudden, the minute he hit the deck, he speeded up by a factor of 10, and then completely lost control of his movements. But it wasn't his fault.
But if he hadn't speeded up, he wouldn't have got anywhere near Sterling anyway. Would he?
No, who did he bring down?
Sterling.
Was it Sterling?
Yeah,
You
it was
sure?
Sterling. Yes,
You
I'm very sure.
Sure it wasn't
Yes.
Silver?
No, I'm sure it was Sterling.
Sterling?
Silver was on the bench.
Silver's on the bench.
Yeah, it was Raheem Sterling. Were you watching the same game?
I was watching the same game, yeah. OK, I'll take your word for it. And
You don't have to take my word for it. It was Raheem Sterling.
Yes.
The man that you said wouldn't score 5 goals in the Premier League.
And who hasn't?
Well, he has now.
No, he hasn't.
He scored 5, hasn't he?
No, he scored 4.
Has he?
He scored 3 and 1.
I thought he'd scored 5.
Sorry, I said no more than 5.
No, you said he wouldn't score 5. Look, I don't want to have to
didn't.
rehash the
I
tweet.
didn't.
You said he wouldn't score 5.
I said no more than 5. Anyway, look, that's another issue. The point is, it was
what
a
is the
brilliant
point?
night of football.
Yeah.
And I have to say that Liverpool fought right to the end to get their draw in the 3-3 game. I thought Arsenal had got it.
Yeah.
I thought they were taking it. And the weather up there was very bad as well.
It was snowing towards the end.
What?
It was snowing.
Well, it's sleeting, actually.
Well, it was a snow.
Difference
it
between
looked like
sleet and snow.
It looked like
and,
snow.
And I have to say that every result tonight was a cracker.
Yeah.
What about the Sunderland result?
Well, Sunderland was incredible, wasn't it?
Well, old Jermaine Defoe. You see, Jermaine Defoe is an illustration of a man who, if you can literally avoid the devil's buttermilk for the rest of your life, that's the sort of person you become. He's never had a drink.
Yeah.
How about that?
No,
Never
I'm
had
very glad
a
for him.
drink.
Very happy for him.
How about that?
Yeah.
See, that's the sort of person you could have turned into had you not wilted in the face of, what's the word I'm looking for? The pleasures of the flesh, the devil's buttermilk, the nefarious substances, of which I'll say no more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the way your lifestyle's gone.
Really?
Increasingly down...
You're going to turn a conversation about Sunderland winning and getting 3 points to help them get further away from Aston Villa into some kind of conversation about my lifestyle.
Well, I mean, you have
Why would you do that?
Because you have the morals of an alley cat, and I feel that you're
first of
just
all-
reminding of
First
that
of all, I don't have the morals of
particular
an alley
facet
cat.
of your life.
2, I'm getting pretty sick and
on a
tired of
regular
all this
basis.
projection of yours. You know, you're the guy that spends most of your life blatherating.
What are you getting sick of?
Sick and tired of all your projection.
Projection? What projection?
I've
What do you
explained
mean?
to you what projection is. It's a well-known psychological facet of somebody who is insecure, insignificant, and completely and utterly on the run.
Hang on.
And basically what you do is you take all of your own faults and you try and project them onto somebody else. You try and project them onto me.
Do I look insecure to you?
Yes, you are insecure.
Why am I insecure? Oh, how can I be insecure?
Of course you're insecure. Because you seek adoration, right?
Yeah.
You seek out people to tell you how great you are.
Oh, yes.
You don't like taking any kind of criticism.
Oh, really?
You're incredibly insecure.
OK. Can I tell you something?
Go on.
I've got 2 front doors.
Have you?
Yes.
Maybe you should bring one of them in here. They've got shortage of doors, but I can't say too much about that because obviously that's a bit of an in-house secret.
Yeah,
this is Talk Sport.
I meant to say to one of our producers that I'm getting a new fridge freezer next week. You want the door off the old one to replace the studio.
No, you can't say that. This is Talk Sport. We've got loads more to do, including, of course, the result of winners and losers.
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon from 5:30. Exclusive national radio commentary of Aston Villa versus Leicester. Barclays Premier League live on Talk Sport.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There was finally some relief in the podcast department earlier on today. Around about midday, we were able to release both podcasts from the two shows from Monday night and Tuesday night. But one of the things, as a result of what happened, and I don't want to dwell on this too long because I know that people will probably get sick and tired of our arguing about winners and losers.
Yes.
But because of the fact that nobody had heard the podcast, I thought it was probably right that we should let the vote run for another 24 hours.
And what happened when it did?
Up until midnight, which we did.
And can we announce the result
we can,
now,
you know, believe it or not, it was always pretty close throughout the course of the day. But now, at midnight, when the vote was tallied up, it was exactly the same as it had been the day before. So it was 52% to you and 48% to me.
I think that just shows the inherent loyalty of the people who voted for me, decided they were going to vote again.
Yeah, you mean the people who voted before they'd heard the podcast?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, they couldn't have heard the podcast because it wasn't available.
Yes, but you see, people know intrinsically that what I say is golden nugget type information.
That's not true because I won.
I think it is.
I won by 15-6, did I not? In the last game we had before Christmas. For the start of the season.
We've wiped the slate clean.
Yeah,
it's now 3-0 to me.
No, it's 2-0 to you.
No, it's not. I won 2 this week.
No, you didn't win 2.
No, I did. I won the first one. You gerrymandered that. I won the second one.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, it's 3.
No, it's not 3. It's 2. You are 2-0 up. And I'm very happy to congratulate you on winning.
OK.
How about that?
Thank you very much. That's very good of you.
I just want you to understand that, you can indeed be magnanimous in victory and you can be gracious in losing, which I am.
I'm not sure about that.
For those numpties out there who were critical of me and saying I was trying to gerrymander the vote, that was never the issue. The issue was simply that people should not be voting on something they haven't listened to.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes a complete mockery of the whole competition.
Well, people have instincts about these things. Now, the issue we're talking about fat people, believe it or not, has spread across more than one title. The chap concerned was from we'll call it a red top tabloid, right?
Well, you mean The Sun?
Yeah, absolutely. But now we've got other people looking at this and making all sorts of judgments about LVG must be losing his mind and all this kind of stuff. How ridiculous is that?
Well, because, I mean, amazingly, as you well know, the idea of calling somebody fat is actually now politically incorrect. I mean, you can't go around calling people fat because it's it's an insult to their their personality. And the most ridiculous thing on the back page of The Sun that I'm looking at, we've got Lee Van Gaal pointing at Neil Custis, saying you're saying fat man, right? And he's then got a little bubble coming out of his mouth saying, "You're right. I'm trying to get it all off, but at least I can admit my own failings." I mean, what on earth is Custis thinking?
I don't know. They've joined in the joke, really, and yet they're still condemning him.
Well, no. What he's saying is that he's injured his knee. Right?
Yes.
And basically says that's why he hasn't been able to get any weight off. Which is a ludicrous thing. I mean, he's a journalist, right? He doesn't have any... How
many miles he used to run a week when his knee was all right to keep his weight down? I mean, look, this is all a joke. Just to explain to our listeners, what's going on here is that LVG leaves the last press conference that he did when, once again, somebody tried to ask about Rooney and he didn't answer it. And then just as he went behind the screen and left the room, he pointed to one reporter, happened to be Neil Custis, who's an old colleague of mine, known Neil maybe 20 years. And
would you describe him as fat?
Yes, Neil's heavy. Neil's a heavy boy. He's a very heavy boy, honestly.
In his view that he's got in the back of The Sun here,
he
says, I had a knee operation 4 months ago that stopped me running and going to the gym. That has resulted me in putting on nearly 2 stone.
Oh, yeah?
That's what he says.
Oh, well, OK,
and he says that now he's going to try and get rid of it all by having a dry January.
Yes.
And also a calm February and a personal trainer.
Well, I've known Neil for years, and the last time I saw him...
What has happened to Fleet Street?
He appears quite often on, sort of TV programmes, giving comments.
He appears on Talk Sport from time to time.
Yes, he does. Yes, of course he does. But you can't see him on Talk Sport. It's the point I'm making. When you see him on television, and I've noticed increasingly his weight his weight has ballooned a little bit in the last few years. It happens to everybody. Yeah, they come to middle age, they get middle age spread and that kind of stuff, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised looking at this picture of this mate of ours, Neil Clusters, on the back of the Sun, the paper he works for, I wouldn't be surprised if that had been in some way, what's the word you use, airbrushed?
Or Photoshop.
Because last time I saw him, he looked heavier than that. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe that's one of the older pictures. They sometimes use older pictures.
I think it is an older picture.
I remember meeting a couple of people in New York when I first went out there.
That's right.
Who had byline pictures in the Daily Mail or Daily Express.
Yeah.
And they must have been 25 years old, those pictures. You know?
I mean, when I met, what's his name, the old guy with one eye.
Dermot Pagavey.
Dermot Pagavey for the first time. You know, this mystical man, Dermot Pagavey.
He used to spell his name like that to people as well.
What?
Pagavey with one eye.
Pagavey with one eye.
Because it was P-U-R-G-A-V-I.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's very funny.
That's right, yeah. And
he injured it. He had it knocked out in a school cricketing accident.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So when he was a kid, then, presumably.
Yeah, he was at school, yeah.
Interesting. And...
well, you've known him all these years. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't. I never bothered asking him.
So you don't bother asking people?
No, I didn't.
You don't know no interest in anybody's personal life, have you?
Not really.
At all.
And anyway, you know, first I thought, God, who's this craggy-faced, you know, knackered, wizened old man?
Who was a very clever writer, actually.
Well, he was quite clever, but I thought he was too clever for his own good.
Well, you would think that, because you have no appreciation of it.
In those days, he used to write the diary from America 1 day a week, and then 2 days a week he had a column from America, didn't he?
That's right.
But the diary was this long, rambling insight into the American psyche and all that.
Well, it was when
newspapers... absolute balderdash,
no, it wasn't.
I
mean, it was before the dumbing. It was before the dumbing down of newspapers, which you very much took part in.
What?
It was about the dumbing down of... You didn't like any of that sort of intellectual, you know, Algonquin round table type stuff.
That's a bit harsh.
You know, talking about Jimmy Breslin and people like that. You preferred to the sort of the one...
Well, Jimmy Breslin was a bit of a con man as well, wasn't he?
Well, no, he was another great writer.
This guy, this New Yorker, you know, Jimmy Breslin, he tells it as it is and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, well, you know...
He wrote a great book called The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight.
Oh, is that right? Who were they?
It was about the Mets.
Oh, I see, the Mets, yeah, right. Now then, isn't it amazing that another newspaper, i.e. the Daily Mail, has taken this up? Van Gaal shows the strain with fat man insult.
Yeah.
Look, we're talking about a throwaway comment here where he called an overweight reporter a fat man. I mean, goodness gracious me, in the pantheon of insults and counter insults, it's not much, is it?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so. But again, in this day and age, I mean, if you went out into the workplace, and I know that we have an unusual working situation where we're not really in a workplace because everybody here is, you know, employed in different ways.
Yeah.
But if you were in an office situation, say, I bet you now, for example, if you were in a newspaper office and you went and called somebody a fat man, "Oi, fat man, come over here, I want to give you a story." You'd probably be hauled before all sorts of HR committees.
You probably would.
And you'd probably be fired for doing it.
You probably would. I call people fatso on a friendly basis.
Well, you call me that on a regular
an affectionate basis, you know what I mean?
It doesn't sound affectionate.
But listen to this. Louis Van Gaal has been involved in another angry bust-up. I mean, I don't think that's entirely accurate, because we've all seen it.
No, but he didn't
wasn't
walk
angry,
out.
was it?
Well, he wasn't happy. He said, I'm not talking about Wayne Rooney anymore.
Yeah, but do we know that it was Neil Custis who'd asked the question about Wayne Rooney?
No, it was... No, because that was second to that. Secondary to that. The first questioner asked the question about Wayne Rooney.
Right, he said, I'm not talking about it.
He then says, I'm not talking about Wayne Rooney, and then he starts to stand up. So it looks to me like, once again, he's walking out of a press conference, right? Yeah. Before he was meant to.
Yeah.
He then says to the guy, you know, you're the one that talks about Wayne Rooney. I'm not the one that talks about Wayne Rooney. And then as he gets to the corner, he can hear people...
And you fat man.
No, but he can hear people laughing.
Yes.
Because they're all then laughing at his reaction. And as he gets to the exit from the room, he turns around, points at Custis, and says, "And you, fat man."
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, you know, for goodness
I think it's very amusing.
Yeah, I think it's very amusing
and
indeed.
they've also got a little note here from Sean Custis, who we also know.
Well, Sean's head of sport at the Sun, and the brother of Neil Custis.
Yeah, and his quote is, "He ain't heavy, he's my brother."
Yeah, I know, no, that's great, isn't it?
Which is quite funny.
It is very funny. It's the Hollies song, isn't it? Yeah.
But I think it's a terrible way to respond, honestly, by Neil Custis, to make out that, you know, the only reason he's fat is because, you know, he's broken.
Ludicrous.
He's injured his knee.
I mean, talk about bending the truth.
Yeah.
You get it? Knee. You know, knee. Bending.
I thought you were going to say bending the knee,
actually. Yeah. Well, bending the knee to bend the truth. I mean, that is about it. Now they've got a picture, Neil, in the gym trying to work out. I mean, goodness gracious me. I think he will be hung by his own petard.
Do you think?
When we go back in 6 months, as we will, because we're on the ball, and so, can we have a picture of you now that your knee's fixed? You know, how much do you weigh these days?
Well, now he's going to be constantly under the gaze of Louis Van Gaal and very many other people, because they'll say, well, you know, how's the personal training coming along?
And quite rightly so. Now then, I'll tell you something else. I do like the cut of the jib of old...
what's his name?
What's his name now?
Who?
Eddie.
Eddie who?
Eddie, the new...
Eddie Izzard?
No, the new rugby boss, Eddie Jones.
Redmayne?
Eddie Jones.
Eddie Jones?
It is Eddie Jones, isn't it?
It is.
Is it? Yeah, Eddie Jones, yeah.
Why do you like the cut of his jib?
Well, I think he's fantastic, and he backs up everything I ever said about Stuart Lancaster. Stuart Lancaster had the...
Why are we talking about rugby now, suddenly?
Well, because I'm telling you about the images I've had from people in sport today.
Spinning.
No, Eddie Jones met because Eddie Jones announced his New England squad today.
He did indeed.
33 people, 7 new caps and all that kind of stuff.
There seems to be quite a bit of surprise about some of the people left out.
Every question he was asked, he managed to bat it back. So where Stuart Lancaster, who used to go on the defence and say, well, I'll make my mind up on that whenever, he was asked, Eddie, who's going to be your captain? He says... 33 at the moment goes down to 23. 23 goes down to 15. When I've got 15, I'll tell you the captain is, okay? Yeah. And a broad smile.
Yeah.
I mean, he went
well, there
on
is something very sort of endearing about the way that Australian sports guys particularly deal with stuff.
But, I mean, his approach to it, I'm full of confidence now that we're going to have a great rugby team this season, that we'll win the Six Nations.
Right.
Because Eddie inspires me with total confidence, whereas Stuart Lancaster completely wrecked my confidence in anybody's ability to play rugby in this country.
Do you want to ask Russell Hargreaves what he thinks of him?
Well, I wouldn't mind, but the trouble with Russell is, how could I believe anything Russell ever tells me again when he told me Stuart Lancaster was the right man for the job? Which I think has completely wrecked Russell's ability to be known as
his credibility.
His credibility as a rugby commentator, yes.
We should say, for anyone who missed it, when we were on the afternoon show during between Christmas and New Year, Russell actually came on and apologised profusely.
Admitted
for
he was
getting
wrong.
it wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we should try and dig that out, actually.
Quite right.
Anyway, we've got loads more coming up. We're going to talk about how useless Chelsea are, right? How interesting some of the referee decisions were last night. Sending off, for example, in the Swansea game, I thought was ridiculous. But we'll talk a bit more about that.
I agree.
Coming up. We can't keep agreeing on everything.
Stunned.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll tell you what else is ridiculous about Swansea.
I'll tell you what's ridiculous is the time.
No, I'll tell you what else is ridiculous. The guy who's looking after them, the manager, Curtis.
I told you that yesterday.
It's rubbish.
I told you that yesterday.
It's not going to work.
That's why John Joe Shelby left.
They'll go down.
This is Talk Sport.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on TalkSport with Wicks. Every weekday morning, get opinionated comment.
Didn't play? No, exactly. I think I've played more for Spurs than he has.
Exclusive interviews.
Usain Bolt.
I always know what I need to do, so when I go there, I just get it done.
And unmissable debate.
People in the street like me, and listen. Yeah, that's what all losers say.
From the biggest names in sports broadcasting every day.
Unbelievable, breathtaking stuff.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on TalkSport with Wicks. Let's do it right.
Oh, come on. Start. No, I'm freezing. Come on. Please, start. Oh, please, not today. Please. Start. Oh, come on! Oops. Brilliant.
January needs more good stuff. So Asda's got loads of deals, like their grocery home delivery service from £1, just to help make January that little bit better. Asda. Save money, live better.
Conditions apply. Online minimum spend and delivery charge applies. Selected stores subject to availability.
Enjoy special introductory savings on many sofas in the best ever DFS winter sale. But hurry, these savings end Monday.
Get a generous helping of the latest odds and tasty tips with Paddy's Punts every weekday afternoon from 4 on Drive with Durham and Goffey on Talk Sport with Paddy Power. You're welcome. With the form on the football,
what a game.
The going on the GGs,
And they're off.
The crack on the cricket,
6,
and lashings of Paddy's famous generosity.
Come on, gives a break. It's only a bit of crack, isn't it?
Get your tips while they're hot with Paddy's Punts. Weekday afternoons from 4 with Adrian Durham and Darren Goff on Talk Sport with Paddy Power. You're welcome.
This is Talk Sports, and we are the two mics. Coming up a little bit later on, it's Porkyvision. We're all very excited to find out what Mr. Parry's been watching in the last few days on TV. A couple of tweets I should read out to you, because I haven't really done any yet. Sean says this at the two mics: "You're trying to put me down." This from the man who calls his colleague Fatso and Fatface.
Yes, that's true.
William says, "Looking at the world today, who's to say sane people are not mad and that mad people are in fact sane?" And Weishi says, MG, for a man of such journalistic credentials, Mr. Parry's command of English is worrying. For example, his comment tonight, condemnatory.
Yes.
Condemnatory, what is that?
Well...
Condemnatory, did you mean?
No, you've got to remember that over the last 1,500 years, the English language has morphed from sort of almost medieval French into English, and that and starting with Latin, of course, the Roman language that the Romans brought us, and we've had to adapt all the way through. I mean, look, you only have to look at a Shakespeare play to find out that words were very, very different in those days to what they are now. Now, at home, I've got...
But not every word has morphed into another word, though.
Well, a lot of them have. At home, I have, in my sporting journals, I have some accounts of some boxing matches in the 19th century.
Right.
And they are fantastic to read, because they're brilliant to read.
Well, like who?
Sorry?
Like what sort of fights?
Well, like heavyweight fights,
Well,
bare-knuckle
like any
fights.
names? Well, you don't want to give the names of these people?
Well, you wouldn't know who they were anyway.
Well, they've probably got great names, though.
Black Jack. What's he laughing at?
Because you're just making it up.
No.
Now.
He was known as Black Jack. He had a swathe of black hair and an ugly demeanour, which is one of the expressions. Yeah, a wicked and ugly demeanour.
No, I would describe that as you.
And some of the expressions are, he pushed his fist forward and engaged his opponent just below the nose.
Yeah.
Dislodging his toothes. Toothes,
Really?
From the jaw within his mouth and all this kind of stuff. Honestly, it's fantastic to read. Yeah, they're really fantastic.
You must bring some of this stuff in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see that the English language has developed and matured. And I think that our millions of listeners will agree I have helped in that maturing process.
Well, I think that you've certainly made gobbledygook of lots of different words.
That's a bit hard.
And people can't understand half the things you say. Julian has got more to the point. What about the Merseyside domination, he says?
Yes.
The second half twist, 9th and 11th. Prince Monulu gave better predictions. And he's got a picture of a guy who I presume is Prince Monulu giving predictions way back in the day.
Why is Prince Monulu giving us predictions? And
I don't know.
Predictions?
Well, I think he's talking more about our predictions that we gave for this week's. I'll tell you what, this week's predictions for me were absolutely woeful.
Yeah, woeful.
I think the only one I got right in any way, shape or form was West Ham beating Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think you're right. I want to give you a prediction now.
Go on.
It's nothing to do with football matches. Guess what it is?
What is it?
The weather. Now, this is brilliant.
Very cold out there.
Well, it's going to get even better because I've been looking at the 3-day forecast, and I'm particularly interested in Saturday, because on Saturday I will be at the Bridge, as you know, me, the armchair supporter. Yeah. I will be in an armchair.
You're the one that calls yourself an armchair supporter.
In the West Stand at Chelsea, okay?
I don't know why you're so paranoid about being an armchair supporter. You're the one who nominated yourself as the head of the Armchair Supporters Association.
Would you just like to listen, please, for a minute?
Well, I suppose so.
On Saturday in the south of England, in the north of England, it's going to be -7.
Yeah.
Well, at some stage of the day, the highest is 5 and the lowest is 7.
This is on Saturday afternoon.
This is on Saturday afternoon.
Right.
In the south, where it's going to be mostly dry, the high point of the day will be 8 degrees centigrade. The low point of the day, -5. Yeah. That will be fantastic. I can't wait.
Well, it won't be fantastic if it's very icy on the road.
Have you
won't be able to get around.
Have you worn an overcoat yet this year?
Do you know what?
Sorry, this winter?
Do you know I haven't? And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I haven't worn an overcoat is that I've actually I've decommissioned the overcoat that I had.
Oh, is it
because
falling to pieces?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very nice overcoat. It was a Hugo Boss coat. It was bought for me.
Is this the dark blue one?
Somebody that I had a great deal of affection for. Yes, the dark blue one. Yeah. And it's very long.
Yeah. Who is this person?
I'm not revealing that.
What do you mean?
I don't have to tell you who bought it for me, but it was somebody that meant an awful lot to me at the time.
Hang
and bought me a coat.
Very, very few people in this world, in the history of your lifetime, have had great affection for you.
Oh, loads
of
people
have. No,
this is one of the reasons. No, this is one of the reasons why you're so bitter and twisted about it.
No,
loads of people have had great affection for me.
Rubbish.
They have, and
this
still
mysterious person. I don't think. I think you bought it yourself.
No, I didn't.
Did you buy it in America?
No, I didn't. It was bought for me in London.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
By somebody who's really affectionate towards you.
It was, yes.
Oh, right.
And it was one of the best presents I've ever had, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, it was a present, was it?
Yeah, it was a present. Yes.
Must be somebody that
I know that this comes as alien to you because you haven't got any friends.
That must be quite wealthy, because when I buy an overcoat, I usually pay about £200 for it. What are you laughing at?
Well, you think that's expensive for a coat?
I think it's reasonable.
No, it isn't.
Oh, right. How much did you pay for this one, then?
It was a present.
And how much did they pay for it?
It's a Hugo Boss overcoat. They cost about £500.
Rubbish.
They do.
Rubbish. Well, I'd pay more than that.
Well, you can buy yours at Mothercare, because you only have to buy the ones for size 12-year-old kids.
Pathetic.
The point is, anyway, I'm trying to tell you a story, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to tell you a story about my overcoat. And the thing was, it got sort of older and older and older, and I, at various points, I had it relined at one stage.
Yes.
I had the sleeves, the cuffs redone, but it just kind of lost its shape landscape eventually.
Yeah, it's fallen to pieces, basically. Why don't you buy a new coat and throw that old rag away?
Well, I have thrown it away.
Oh, you have?
Is, yeah.
Oh, you didn't say that.
Well, if you listen to what I was telling you, I've decommissioned it, was what I said, right?
Decommissioned.
So, anyway, and I thought to myself, I must buy myself a new overcoat.
Yeah.
But it was never really cold enough in the last 2 years.
How did
I bought myself a Barber.
Oh, Barber.
Which is what I wear.
That's a half coat.
Which keeps me nice and warm.
It's a half coat, isn't it?
But
It's not a proper coat.
But in answer to your question, I haven't needed to wear an overcoat, so I bought one.
When you say
can buy me one if you'd like.
When you say you decommissioned this coat, how did you physically get rid of it?
Well, I believe it's hanging somewhere.
So you haven't thrown it out then?
No, but I've thrown it in the wardrobe, in the back of the wardrobe.
You've thrown it at the back of the wardrobe? Lying in a heap somewhere?
Can't bring myself to throw it out. Well,
now,
it's still hanging up, but it's in a part of the wardrobe where I put stuff that I think maybe at some point I'll need to wear. Because if, for example, I got up tomorrow and it was absolutely freezing cold, and I would think to myself, well, to keep warm, I'll just put on my old overcoat to go to work.
So you still got it? You haven't decommissioned it?
Well, I don't wear it, though, because I don't think I'll ever wear it again.
Well, your Barber. Is that the Barber that doesn't fit you?
What do you mean it doesn't fit me?
Well, you're too big for it, you know.
No, it fits me very well.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be the wrong coat. I must have seen you in a different coat.
Well, which coat are you talking about?
Well, a kind of shortish coat, which looks like a Barber.
It's the one I wear pretty much every day.
Which you're clearly too fat to get into.
Not at all.
Really?
Well, if I was too fat to get into it, I wouldn't be able to zip it up, would I?
Well, I think you've got a problem there, to be honest.
I can zip it up.
Bulging.
Well, all right. Well, since we're talking about clothes, why don't you reveal to us, as you never do, the real size of your shirt?
I've told you, it's X.
X?
Yes.
And the real size of your trousers? You told us 26.5 inside leg, didn't you?
That's all you need.
What sort of waist size?
Well, it varies. It
varies.
I buy very expensive trousers which have movable waistbands.
You have never owned anything very expensive.
No. Anyway, listen, we've talked about clothes. I want to talk to you about something much more important.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Answer this question for me.
That's another question.
No, seriously, this is you know all the floods recently?
Yeah.
And things like roads and bridges have been damaged.
Yes.
What happened to the Royal Engineers?
They've probably been decommissioned as well, haven't they?
Well, I'm wondering, what happened to the Royal Engineers?
Well, I mean, certainly they've been... I mean, the Army have been sent to a lot of places to help...
Have you seen the Royal Engineers building a bridge across the river?
I mean, well, not this weekend.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But years ago, I can swear that whenever... I mean, I'm thinking of the place called Tadcaster, which I saw a news report on today. The bridge is washed away. There's another place in Carlisle where the road has been washed away and the children can't get from their homes to their school and all this kind of stuff.
There's quite a few places around the country where the river has basically separated communities,
That's exactly what I'm saying. You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Now, in Tadcaster in particular, if you can't get across the bridge, it's an 8-mile detour and all this kind of stuff, right? I want to know, where are the Royal Engineers? Because the Army used to have the finest Royal Engineers in the world. These are the men who built the bridges across the Rhine in the invasion of Europe.
Yes.
You know, when the Germans were retreating, they blew up all the bridges.
Right.
And the Royal Engineers rebuilt them within a matter of days. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying they will go there and permanently build a new stone bridge.
But build some kind of structure.
To stop the inconvenience of having to go round an 8-mile detour, why aren't the Royal Engineers building bridges across our rivers?
Well, maybe they haven't got the ability to do it anymore.
Well, that's a disgrace.
There's not enough of them. I don't know if that's true.
That is a disgrace.
Secondly, maybe it's not safe for them to yet do it because the rivers are still so swollen.
But have you seen them on the... I mean, yeah, OK, maybe. But what I'm saying is I've not even seen a report that the Royal Engineers are waiting for the water to go down to move in and build a temporary bridge.
Yeah.
All they need is a temporary bridge across these things.
True.
Even if it was one way, set of traffic lights. So, these guys go for 3 minutes in one direction, then the light changes, guys go... That would make an enormous difference to people's lives. Yeah. I want to know the answer to the question. I will be asking the Minister of Defence tomorrow, and I will tell our listeners tomorrow night, right, where are the Royal Engineers?
Maybe there'll be people out there listening who are involved with the Army and the armed forces. Maybe they can tell us.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to know
what's happened to the Royal Engineers.
I would like to know.
By all means, let us know. You can tweet us at the two Mikes, at IROMG, at Mike Parry 8. You can text us on 81089.
Talk Sport.
He scores again!
The radio station with the extravagant lifestyle off the pitch.
$100,000 a week.
Keep a Fabergé egg on your dashboard.
Talk Sport.
Absolutely.
Now, here's one from a couple of texts that I should read out to you, which we haven't had a chance to do so far.
Okay.
Geordie Bry says, "Hi, Mike. Can you inform Porky Raheem Sterling has scored 5 league goals this season.
I know. I said he wouldn't score more than.
Right, and Robin says from Winchmore Hill, the great Fats Domino is also known as the Fat Man.
Yeah, he was. But I mean that wasn't because he was fat. That was because it was his nickname was.
Well, he wasn't particularly slim.
No, he wasn't.
Here's one from Scouser who says, Mr. Parry, when you suggested Sterling would not score more than 5 goals, I asked for a price on 6 goals or less at my bookies, who gave me 6-1.
Right.
Now it's squeaky bum time, he says.
It certainly is.
And here's one from Winford, who says, good morning, MG. That MP needs to take a leaf out of your book, by whom he means you. You are a man enough to congratulate him when he wins, but if you win, it's always gerrymandering.
Well, there's a lot of that about, believe me.
Ian in Manchester says this, hi guys, still puzzles me how the out-of-control Swansea chairman Hugh Jenkins would sack Michael Laudrup, a man with world football contacts.
Yeah.
The chickens have come home.
Who's their manager now? Alan Custis?
Eh? Yeah, well, the guy that you were talking about.
Yeah, it is. No, it's not
Swansea.
Custis. That's Neil Custis.
Neil
the
Custis.
Fat man now.
Curtis, isn't it?
Curtis, Alan Curtis. You're absolutely right. Now then, what I was going to say about that was...
he might be described as old man, I suppose.
Who?
Old man.
Who?
Custis.
No,
Curtis.
Curtis, yeah. No, what I was going to say was, and this is very important...
Did you know, by the way, that Gus Hiddink is the oldest Premier League manager?
No. Yeah, I can believe that. Now, Alan Curtis, right, is, he's been given Swansea and all this because he is Mr. Swansea. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so the idea
he's been with the club donkey's years, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
But he doesn't want the job.
Well, hang on. Doesn't this remind you of a man called John Carver, who was Mr. Newcastle?
Yes, it actually does. Yeah, you're right.
What I mean?
Yeah, very true.
So, we've hit a crisis. We can't find a new manager. We don't want to pay big money for one.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get relegated anyway. Yeah. Give it to the local hero.
Yeah.
On this occasion,
because the fans will be happy.
Exactly. Years ago, honestly, I remember as a kid, Sunderland gave the job to a guy called Malcolm, and I can't remember his name now. But this guy he'd been a youth coach, and then he was sort of assistant coach. You know, and then
just been hanging around.
He was just hanging around. And then 2 managers got sacked in quick succession. They gave it to Malcolm, right. And I remember Malcolm...
Who knows the club inside out, right?
No, he'd made the tea and all this kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Knows everyone from the doorman to the chairman.
Yeah, and Malcolm suddenly comes in and they do the original picture of him standing on whatever the cop end at Sunderland was called in those days, you know what I mean? Roker.
Right.
The Roker
Roar.
The Roker Roar
right.
and all. And Malcolm says, this is the greatest honour of my life. I was born 4 streets away from the ground, and now I'm the manager's son. Anyway, needless to say, he got sacked, of course, because he was useless, with the greatest respect to him. And
luckily we can't remember his name.
No, and Malcolm Crosby, was it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
to be honest, I don't know.
And
what era are you talking about? The 80s?
Maybe even the 70s,
really?
Honestly. It was higher. But the reason they gave him was, he's our local boy.
I remember Bob Stokoe.
Well, Bob Stokoe must have come after him because Bob Stokoe 73.
Would have been before him, when they won the cup.
Yeah, Sunderland won the cup in 73. Beat Leeds 1-0.
Yeah.
And I remember the minute he got appointed, this guy, and he had like a sort of a bubble perm haircut.
Yeah.
I thought that guy will be useless because they've only given him the job because he's the local hero.
Yeah.
So all the local fans were, Malcolm, he's our lad, he'll see us right. He'll see us right.
And it didn't work at all.
Why, aye, man. Oh, the Roker Roar will be roaring again. Of course, it only roared its way to relegation or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And when you appoint a local hero, it usually goes disastrously wrong.
Right.
Disastrously wrong, and that's where Swansea are going now. I'm afraid I have to say.
Did you see that QPR have taken Chris Ramsey back, the guy who was once the manager, and who's now gone back as director of technical director or something like that?
That was one paragraph in the paper.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I pointed it out to you.
Yeah.
I said, hang on, is that the same Chris Ramsey?
You did not point it out to me.
I did.
You didn't. You must have been somebody else you were talking to.
Well, you weren't listening.
No, I just happened to notice it over the weekend.
And I said, is that the same Chris Ramsey? It was the manager who got sacked.
The guy that got fired. It's a very odd business.
Neil Warnock's back there. He was a manager who got sacked.
Right.
It's
extraordinary.
I don't know. And they've won a game, have they, since old Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank got there?
They still seem to have... I think they've won one finally. I mean, they still seem to have more, sort of coaches there than players.
It's true.
But, the other thing, you mentioned John Carver there, who also was a complete disaster. The other team that may make this exact same error is Manchester United. Because you hear a lot of Manchester United fans say, we want to have Ryan Giggs as the manager.
On a much higher level, you could be right.
Because he's not in any... I mean, yes, he's Mr. Manchester United. He knows the club inside out. He's a fantastic player.
Yes.
Won everything he could win under Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah. But why on earth make him the manager?
No, you might be absolutely right. You could honestly be absolutely right.
Now, I've got a few more tweets to read.
Okay,
I haven't finished reading them here.
Go on.
Scott says this, Porky not having worn an overcoat this year, he was in the Bournemouth video, and I thought he liked the cold.
Ah.
You were wearing an overcoat in that video, it's true.
Ah, yes, but that was for the picture. That was for the purposes of to make it look good. You know what I mean? But I wasn't actually wearing it.
How about this one from Marcus? He says, hello from Barbados. I just picked a fight with my girlfriend so that I could come home and listen to you guys.
Oh, well done. Okay.
Do not disappoint me. What do you mean, well done? Don't encourage people to rouse with their girlfriends.
No. What I mean is it's good to indicate that you have a passion for our broadcasting to the extent where you will gerrymander the situation to your favour.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Kenny has sent us a picture of a football shirt, and it says that the Royal Engineers have won the FA Cup. And
yes, they have,
yeah.
No, that's absolutely true.
FA Cup winners 1875.
Yeah, I was going to say about 1870s or something like that. Yes,
you were not going to say that.
I was going to say that,
Malcolm,
honestly.
Yeah, John says, it was Malcolm Crosby.
Malcolm Crosby,
He got Sunderland to the Cup final in 1992.
Yes, he did. But then the following season...
Well, hang on then. Well, that wasn't such a bad thing.
No. Do you know what? It was the easiest route to the Cup final of any club who ever got to the Cup final. Apparently, they've never played a team above the third division.
Okay.
They're just very lucky in the draw.
And Glyn says it's called the Fulwell End.
Oh, the Fulwell End. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, I've been to Roker Park. I just don't know which one it was.
Yeah, right.
Roker Park's not there anymore.
No,
they knocked
of course.
it down. It's now a housing estate. Housing estate.
What, like a sort of nice housing estate? Or not?
No, not particularly nice. They're sort of... I've seen it. They're like... what do they used to call them? Not terraced houses, townhouses, I suppose, but they look like terraced houses.
Oh, so they're like, the sort of modern, sort of Barrett home type.
Yes, exactly.
How about this one from James in York? And Kenny have said the same thing.
Yes.
The temporary bridge in Tadcaster won't be put up because Tadcaster Brewery won't let them put it on their land, which is the only place it can be put.
Well, is he saying that the Royal Engineers have approached the town and said
he hasn't given us all of that information?
We can build you a temporary bridge.
But he's saying that the only place they can build a temporary bridge, whoever they are, is involving the Tadcaster Brewery, and they're saying they can't do it.
No, well, that doesn't really answer the question. What I'm trying to find out is why. I mean, in news reports and all this kind of stuff, normally we talk about, everybody rallying around. I mean, we sent money off to the people in Cumbria when the first flood started, right? That's the sort of the spirit of help that we have in this country.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. We have seen troops on the ground, I think, haven't we? Towing dinghies around and that kind of stuff.
They've taken troops in as well to deliver sandbags. They've had those big helicopters dropping all sorts of massive sandbags all over the place.
That's right. I just don't understand. I really don't understand why the Royal Engineers are not involved. But, that's the sort of thing. Listen, what do you think about this couple from your part of the world who've just won £33 million?
From the Boddas of Scotland. They seem very unassuming. They seem lovely. They seem very nice. They spent a great deal of time drinking tea. I love the fact that they phoned their daughter in Australia.
Told her to pull over in the car.
And said, normally they talk to her on Skype or, on some free service.
Yeah.
And then when somebody said to the guy, well, aren't you worried, how much did the phone call cost? He just went, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
33 million quid.
Her name is Lisa, their daughter, an extremely good-looking young lady.
Oh, I haven't seen a picture of her.
Yeah, and she's flying. I've seen a
Why
picture
are you making a point of how good-looking she is?
Well, because I think it's brilliant that her life now is going to be massively improved.
Is she married?
I don't know.
I'm surprised you haven't researched this.
No, I haven't. Do you know what is absolutely amazing? I'll tell you what's amazing. Two things. Firstly, he said, never mind the big car and the big house and all that. I'm going to buy myself a pair of hand-stitched brogues.
Yes.
Which is a wonderfully...
For £200.
Exactly, which shows that they're wonderfully grounded people.
Good luck, actually, with that, because if he wants to get a really, really fine pair of brogues, he won't get a pair for 200 quid. I mean, look at how much your slippers were.
Well, that's true, £175.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah. But no, what I was going to say was, and I'm not being facetious here,
no,
they won exactly £33 million.
Yeah. Did you see what one of the numbers was that came up?
Was it 47?
It was.
Ooh, I didn't know that. But anyway, they won £33 million, 35,323.
Yeah.
Now, without being facetious in any way...
Was it not like 20 pence as well thrown on the end?
I don't know, but it was 35,023 on top of 33 million.
Yeah.
I bet you... They didn't earn 35,000 last year, and I also bet you...
Well, I mean, she's a chemist, I think.
Is she?
Yeah, and he works for a housing association.
Yeah,
so
right.
I mean, they looked as if they were not
individually.
Not impoverished.
They're not impoverished. I agree. But what I was going to say is, if they'd have got a win of £35,000, they would have been absolutely delighted.
Well, so would I.
Well, so would I, because with 35 grand, I mean, 35 grand doesn't mean that much to you and I, because we live in London and we're in a...
It does mean quite a lot to me. It might not mean anything to you.
No, we're earning, of course, we're in an earning bracket in which the stakes are a bit higher than no, hang on.
No, I know what you're saying.
Than people live in the borders.
But don't make out like I'm the same as you in the sense that money doesn't matter. Only large amounts of money matter. I mean, I didn't even buy a lottery ticket.
No,
you did.
Okay,
right.
What I'm saying is, in the borders of Scotland, £35,000 is a lot of money.
Well, it's not a fortune. I mean, don't make out like the borders of Scotland is some backwater. No, I mean, the borders of Hawick they're from, right?
Oh, I think it's a lovely part of the world.
They're from Hawick.
It's a lovely, absolutely lovely part of the world.
Are they from Hawick?
They are from Hawick.
Yeah.
Which
is the home of Kashmir in Scotland.
Yes, of course it is. Of course it is.
The home of Pringle. Yes. I mean, it's quite an affluent area.
Yes, I know.
You're making it out like it's some kind of, people living in caves.
No, I'm not. But you won't accept the fact that the economy there is not as advanced as the economy of Greater London or London.
It's not as expensive to live there.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But don't say that 35 grand you couldn't buy a house for 35 grand. It's not that much money.
You buy a very nice car.
Well, because cars cost the same wherever you are.
Actually, you couldn't buy my car for 35 grand, come to think of it. So
I mean, how come you can buy... Well, you can't buy cars cheaper in the Scottish borders than you can in London.
No, that's true. That's true.
So there's a
Nevertheless,
bad example.
£35,000 is a lot of money, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Now then...
Anyway, they've got a very attractive daughter, you were saying.
Very attractive, yes. Daughter Lisa, 26. Now, the other thing that I've worked out in my head, because I work these things out instantly, is this.
Yeah.
So 33 mil, OK?
Yeah.
So they just deciding what to do, that they put it in the bank. Now then, you would get on that £33 million about 7%, I'm told, OK?
Really?
Yes, you would, yeah.
You can't get 7% in any interest account.
You can on
£33
million.
Really?
I'm told. This is what I'm told. So, look at it this way. If it was 10%, it would be 3.3 million a year.
Yeah.
As it's 7%,
yeah, but it not be sort of interest on top of that as well, though.
Well,
so
compounded,
yeah.
So
but it wouldn't just be 3.3 million a year, would it?
No, but I'm just trying to work this out. That's right. Yeah. Well, I'm going to work it out weekly. You see, if you just shut your mouth. So if it was 10%,
so rude.
Hang on. If it was 10%, it would be 3.3 million, right?
Right.
If it's 7%, it's 2/3 of that. So 2/3 of that is 2.2 million. Okay.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. On an annual basis, 2.2 million, except it's compound because it's growing each week.
Yeah.
But if we divide 2.2 million by 12, because there's 12 months in a year, it's 1.8, so that's 180,000.
180,000 a month.
A month.
Yeah. So not anything like as much as most Premier League footballers are making.
But considering you're not doing anything, £180,000 a month, which is £45,000 a week, is not bad, is it?
It's not bad at all.
Not bad.
Certainly more than most Championship footballers are making.
Yeah, and on that £45,000 a week, by the way...
Why have you spent so much time working all this out?
Well, it fascinates me, these huge sums of money. So £45,000 a week, on that, there's no way you'd get away without paying maximum tax, I'm afraid, even if you put it to a company or something else.
Yeah.
So you would lose half of that. So you would, in fact, you could bank on your on your bank account, if you didn't touch it, accumulating by £22,000 a week.
Right.
So if you didn't touch it for a year, you'd have another million at the end of the year.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether they're going to continue working at their jobs.
Yes.
But, I mean, you can't leave it untouched if you stop working, can you? Because you've got, bills to pay, you've got, mortgages to pay off and all the rest of it.
But at $22,000 a week, the sort of lifestyle this lovely couple who've won it seem to lead, they could easily live on the interest without touching the capital.
I would imagine so. But I'm sure that they want to do more than that, don't they?
Well, I hope they do, because when you've got that sort of opportunity in life and it's a life changer, you should change your life.
Yeah.
That's my view.
I think so.
Yeah.
Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. Hopefully all podcasts are back to normal now, so basically it should be another one coming out about 7 hours from now. Now, another update on Malcolm Crosby.
Oh, yes, yes.
Apparently from Mick from the Toon.
Right.
It says Malcolm Crosby got sacked from Gateshead about 5 weeks ago.
Oh,
he was chronic.
He was chronic. Oh, poor old Malcolm. He's getting a terrible slating here.
Literally within the space of about 15 minutes, the Porky Jinx has worked faster than ever.
I'm afraid it has, yeah.
Now, here's one from Jim, who says, Swansea should try and get Brendan Rodgers back. Like Pardew and Hughes, a little step backwards can make you better.
Yeah, well...
I don't know about that.
A lot of people, actually, being serious for a moment, say that Brendan Rodgers fitted perfectly at Swansea and he'd fit perfectly back there. But you know what?
But he's already said no, hasn't he?
Well, what will happen is, the reason that Brendan Rodgers will never go to Swansea, it would bruise his ego.
Yes, exactly.
Brendan Rodgers has a very big ego, and I don't say that condemnatory, by the way. Yeah. People need big egos to succeed in life.
Sure.
And I think he feels that would be a step backwards. And I would agree with him. I wouldn't go back to Swansea. It's almost like you're sort of going back to the place and say, this is as far as I can go. He's still ambitious to do the job.
But do you not think that in time, sometimes egos can become smaller? Because, for example, as Brendan Rodgers sits at home, watches all this amazing football going on around him, watches the success of Jurgen Klopp, even though perhaps some Liverpool fans might say, well, technically he's not been that much more successful.
Yeah.
But he kind of is. After a while, do you not say to yourself, Well, I'm going to have to get back in at some point. Yeah. I mean, certainly I've been in that situation in newspapers where you get out. So, I remember when I got fired by the Express.
Yes.
And I went, it was a Friday night, and on the Saturday morning, I was astonished to see a copy of the Daily Express in my newsagent, because you sort of thought to yourself, do you know what? Well, how can they produce this paper without me?
Yes,
how can
exactly.
they possibly, I was a night editor.
Sure.
I was the guy in charge of sending it to the printers.
Sure.
I was fired in the midst of doing all that.
Yes.
And when I saw the actual finished product, I was kind of like, oh, they can actually do this without me.
Do it without me. I know exactly what you mean there. Sometimes a series of crashing sort of disappointments like that can blunt your ego and blunt your ambition. Yeah. However, that has never happened to me.
No.
And that's because
your ego is very healthy.
No, you've got to have total self-belief. Now, funny you should say that, but I was reading a book today, believe it or not, which I was going to tell you about, and it's called The Road to Character, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've actually got it in my leather...
Is this not the book you mentioned to me yesterday?
My leather bag outside.
Oh, the faux leather bag. The faux headphones bag.
No, in my leather bag, my other leather bag.
You've got another leather bag.
Yeah,
Are you sure it's leather?
Yeah.
Where'd you get it from?
What do you mean where I get it from? I don't know where I got it from. Somebody bought it for me.
No, because you got it as a present.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Well, it might not be leather, because, you think your headphones bag is leather. Yeah. It's actually fake.
No, this is a proper leather bag. I know it's a proper leather bag. It was given to me by somebody who runs an import-export leather goods business, right?
Really?
Yeah. Now,
Why?
Why
did they give it to you?
Because they like me.
Really?
Yes.
I see, that's right. Where the story falls down.
I'm monitoring. I'm going to ignore that. Right, now then, look at this. The Road to Character says that psychologists asked more than 10,000 adolescents whether they consider themselves to be a very important person.
Yeah.
12% said yes. The same question asked to another group of men who were self-employed high achievers was 80% who said yes. So that indicates the different sorts of people who look at themselves and the lights in which they look at themselves, OK?
I don't know what you mean.
The guy who had the biggest ego in the world and is used as an example at all times of how to succeed by believing in yourself is, in fact, Felix Dennis.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we know Felix Dennis.
Indeed. Well, you know what was funny, actually? Because, we were talking just the other day about David Bowie's place in Mustique.
Yes.
Well, I don't know whether you saw it, but on Daily Mail Online the other day, they had a whole series of pictures of the inside of it.
I saw it today. I saw it today.
Oh, OK, because do you know that David
Bowie... It was like an Oasis Wonderland inside.
Because David Bowie had sold it, apparently, to Felix Dennis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Dennis had bought the place from him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's now up for sale because Felix Dennis died, obviously, last year.
Because we pointed out a story yesterday about a mutual friend of ours, Leslie Ann Jones, an outstanding female journalist who got right inside the rock world in a big way. She knew Brian May very well from...
Still is pretty much...
very much so.
Very well connected.
And she met Bowie once in New York, and they were having a cup of coffee together, and she was starting to write a new book. And he said, do me a favour, go and write it in my place in Mustique. I never use it, and that house needs using. And threw the key to the place in Mustique.
It's an amazing house.
Across the table to her. She said, are you serious? She said, yeah. He said, by the way, ring up this number and they'll fix an airfare for you to get there. We've got a special airline that does it.
You have to take a little puddle jumper to get into it. Yeah.
And she went there and stayed there for a month, I think, and wrote the first half of her book there in the luxurious splendour of this place, which was actually staffed with maids and chauffeurs, who had a car to pick you up from the airport and all this kind of stuff.
Well,
and
it's not really an airport; it's like an airstrip.
That's right, an airstrip.
Literally just down at the bottom of the island.
But there was nobody living there.
No, incredible.
So we'd have to right. But anyway, the Felix Dennis situation. Funny you should say the connection there is that Felix Dennis had a mantra, and it was that team spirit is for losers.
Yeah.
It's the glue that binds losers together. It's the methodology. Methodology, yeah. It's the method.
You've told me this story before.
Hang on, it's the methodology employers use to shackle useful employees to their desks. I think we got to that bit yesterday. But what I'm saying is that came to me very big after what you just said about egos being battered and bruised. You mustn't let your ego be battered or bruised. Otherwise, you become a completely different person.
No, absolutely right.
Completely different.
I'm not suggesting that you don't allow it to happen.
Yes.
Because sometimes when your ego becomes battered and bruised, it's happening for a reason.
Yes.
But, it doesn't mean it has to finish you off. It just means that you become a richer person because of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, for setbacks,
you
have the more setbacks you have, the better it is for you.
The pursuit of success, of course, is very lonely. You know that, do you?
Of course I know that.
Right. Now, listen, I read something by Serena Williams, a wonderful woman, absolutely, utterly fascinating woman.
Yeah.
And she says, I realise there are always going to be people who don't like me. It can be be very lonely at the top. You're a target. Everyone wants to beat you. Everyone talks behind your back, and you get a lot of very unjust criticism, OK?
Yeah.
But she also goes on to tell how she became a winner with ego and all that. And it wasn't her ego, it was her father's ego. She said, while
he was very much the driving force between the two of them. Wasn't
it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
She said, while we were still in junior school, in America that's under 11, isn't it?
Junior school, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. When we were still in junior school, my dad drew up a 78-page manifesto on how we were going to be turned into champions. We'd never even played tennis at the time. He was extremely business savvy. He briefly played professional basketball, but he saw tennis as the road to our financial security. So first of all, he taught himself to play, so he could then teach Venus and I to play.
Yeah.
When he was negotiating my first contract as a pre-teen... Pre-teen?
Pre-teen means before you're a teenager.
Okay.
So, I mean, it depends on whether you think you become a teenager at 13.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think I do.
Yeah.
So when she was 11 or 12.
11 or 12.
Yeah.
He made me sit in on the negotiations, and from sitting in on those, I've learnt everything that I've employed in talks with people when I'm doing contracts ever since.
Right.
I mean, that's astonishing. Do you know what also
But I've had to have these conversations with my daughter, actually, who's now in the media business as well.
Right.
And she's had some times, after very difficult days, long hours and all that kind of thing, that, she's not feeling particularly happy, a bit miserable. And I said, well, you have to decide whether you're going to like doing the job. But if you don't like doing the job, you shouldn't do it. However, if you are going to do the job, you're going to have to be ruthless.
Yes, that's
and
right.
You're just going to have to be, much, much more like everybody else.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right about that. Yes.
Now, just before we go, Jethro Tull apparently have got a song called Fat Man, according to David.
Have they?
He says the words fat man and thin man are mentioned liberally. So he wants us to play
Lend me your ears and I'll show you a horse. Ian Anderson used to stand on one leg and play the violin.
Yeah, he did.
He was the lead singer of Jethro Tull.
He was indeed.
And he had a farm in Warwickshire.
Yeah, a trout farm, wasn't it?
No, he had a proper farm, and he had shire horses, which he used to use to pull the plough around his fields. That's how he used to tend his fields. Right. With shire horses and a plough.
Yeah.
What's the one about seed? I pay the seed and scatter. No, I plough the field and scatter the good seed on the ground.
It's not a Jethro Tull song, is it?
No, but he used to sing that as he was going around with his shire horses and his plough. Yeah, he just like ploughing his fields with horses.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't believe it. This is Talk Sport.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that doesn't compromise on delivering the biggest names from the world of sport.
That's the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast every weekday morning from 6 a.m. on Talk Sport. Don't miss it.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on earth. Find out more at ford.co.uk.
Enjoy special introductory savings on many sofas in the best ever DFS winter sale. But hurry, these savings end Monday.
You own this place?
Yes, and you are?
Winston Wolfe, Direct Line. So you're a landlord, a property magnate, a wise guy.
I wouldn't go that far. It's just my wife's old flat.
But you have Direct Line landlord insurance with buildings cover, right? After all, if your boiler breaks down, they'll pay to repair or replace it.
No.
Oh, maybe not such a wise guy.
Boiler cover as standard with buildings cover. Can your landlord insurance do that? Search Direct Line Landlord. Excludes wear and tear. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
Make sure you're ahead of the game and listen to Kick-Off on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Tonight from 7, get in-depth analysis, heavyweight pundit opinion, and outspoken fan reaction on the nation's most passionate pre-match football forum.
You won't miss a trick, flick, or kick of any of the action.
Plus, hear the latest form and odds ahead of all the matches that matter from 888 Sport's On The Ball Bet Spurt. Kick-Off, weeknights from 7 on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can.
Be in the know. Get details on all the deals as they're done. The January transfer window on Talk Sport.
still plenty of abuse coming in for poor old Malcolm Crosby.
Oh,
the man that you put
well,
in
this
the
is not
spotlight.
fair, is it?
William says Malcolm Crosby was sacked by Gateshead weeks ago, and then he's got a smiley face, and he says he calls him a useless Mackham or something, which I can't read out.
Oh, dear me.
Which is not very nice at all.
Yeah,
now, James says this, if Porky won 33 million, how would he divvy it up, and would he consider cryonically freezing as an option, or would he buy into Everton?
I wouldn't buy into any football club because you might as well set fire to your money, to be perfectly honest.
Well, yeah, but if you had that much money, you could afford to set fire to it.
It's not much. 33 million, right? If you wanted a really good player, I mean, you know, Lukaku.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to buy. Yeah, but you're not going to buy Everton. But what I'm saying is, you could buy a share of it, couldn't you?
No,
10 million or something.
No, Lukaku costs £28 million.
Yeah.
What good would it be putting £10 million into Everton? Seriously. And by the way, I'm not the first sort of just fan to say that. The original one I heard was Noel Gallagher. And Noel Gallagher was asked, oh, come on, Noel, you're a multi-millionaire rock musician now, you know, are you going to start investing in and Gallagher loves Manchester City.
Yeah.
He said, no. He said, I would be mad.
Yeah.
He said, it is like setting fire to money to invest in football clubs unless you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do it out of a sense that I don't, want to help Everton. I would buy the best box and I'd want to entertain people there for free and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
would you give me any of it?
Sorry?
Would you give me any of it?
Well, I would try and help those around you who I feel have suffered. Yeah, who have suffered from your despicable lifestyle over maybe the last 2 decades.
Well, you wouldn't need much for that. There's very few people have suffered around my lifestyle.
Well, yeah.
If anyone suffered as a result of my lifestyle, it's me.
What I'd basically do is the charities that I like giving to, I'd set up my own charity, but I would give the money directly to the people who should benefit.
Yes.
So I wouldn't have a chief executive.
Right.
I wouldn't have a team of people in this country who were flying out to Africa to help people regain their sight and all that.
Yeah.
I would go and I would take money with me and I would take doctors with me with the serum that improves people's eyesight or banishes the blindness. And I'd rent a building and say, could all those people who are suffering this terrible disease, which closes your eyes up, makes you blind, cure up here, please, because I'm going to give you an injection which will cure your blindness. That's what I'd do. I'd do it directly.
Okay.
Absolutely directly.
Quite a few people want to correct you on the Jethro Tull stuff as well.
Oh, yes.
Peter is one and Adrian is another.
Right.
Planky, Ian Anderson plays the flute, not the violin, he says. He does play the flute.
Yeah, it was the flute.
I've never seen him play the violin.
It was the flute.
Also, Adrian says he has a salmon farm in Scotland.
Yeah, OK, but he used to have a farm in the Midlands, believe me. He did.
I don't think so.
He did. I know these things.
And Matt says David Bowie also sang a song called Little Fat Man in the TV series Extras. He co-wrote the song with Ricky Gervais. I just saw that, actually, the other day. It was when it was his last TV appearance.
By the way, I forgot to tell you. I only remembered when I heard something. I once proposed to a lady to the background of a David Bowie song.
Right.
I got carried away because it was such a brilliant song and I was blatherated. Well, it's one that nobody's mentioned.
Really?
It's one that nobody's mentioned.
All right.
And it was called Absolute Beginners.
Yeah.
And it was Patsy Kensit in the film.
That's right.
Wasn't it the film Absolute Beginners?
There was a film Absolute Beginners.
And there's a line in it, right, and this is where I got completely blatherated and got all romantic.
Hang on, this is all coming as a bit of a shock to me.
Yeah, right,
You proposed marriage to someone.
I did, honestly.
Who to? What was her name?
A young lady.
Well,
young lady.
No, you don't just go around proposing to young ladies.
Really?
I mean, did you get drunk and decide to do it, or
no,
was it something that you had to get drunk in order to do?
She'd been pressing me for a long, long time that we should get married.
I don't want to know about that sort of thing.
Well, you know what I mean. She'd been, why can't we? You know. She saw me.
When was this?
Hey,
when was this?
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily year, but what period of your life?
Oh, when I was the Supremo at the Express.
Oh, so this was in London.
Yes, in London.
So she must have been a secretary then.
She was actually, yes, yeah, but I mean that's irrelevant. No, but she was. I mean, she was pressing me. She saw me as a fantastic catch. She'd been married before anyway.
Did her name begin with A?
No.
No?
No.
It was her.
Her name was actually Lorraine.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. And she'd been married before.
Right.
And she lived in a.
Her first husband must have been hideous if she wanted to marry you.
I don't know why you can say things like that. I don't know how you can say things like that.
If I play this song, it's not going to bring back horrible memories to you, is it?
No, they're quite. It's quite a good story actually. But this is the song. Yeah, listen. Now there's a line in it in which he says, "I absolutely love you."
Yeah.
And it was at that moment I proposed to her. Listen.
All right.
Anyway, it'll come in a minute. But the line is, honestly, I absolutely love you.
I can just imagine you sitting there waiting for the line. Were you in a pub or something?
No, we were at home, actually.
Oh, you were at home?
And
were you in bed?
No, she was making the dinner, and
of course.
This music was on the old, the revolving thing, what do you call it? Record player, that's right, yeah. Yeah, here, this is it, listen. Here.
absolute beginner.
That's Absolute Beginner. Yeah.
He's going to say, I absolutely love you.
I'm absolutely sane.
I'm absolutely sane.
Yeah, absolutely sane.
Well,
yeah.
you couldn't sing that
I
line.
was sane. It'll come in a minute.
As long as we're together.
Yeah, no, wait for this. I'll just talk over it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll give you the atmosphere.
Okay.
So the record player's on, right?
Right.
And,
what was she making for dinner?
Spaghetti bolognese. Yeah. And, here, listen, here.
Absolutely love you.
You see, that is amazing.
That's it.
The fact that you can remember
Right.
all this stuff.
Okay.
This must have been, maybe the 80s we're talking about,
Oh, yeah,
right?
it was the 80s. Yeah, all right, yeah.
But
yeah.
you've got a sort of a pin-perfect memory
That's right.
of that period.
Yes.
But you can't
Why
remember
not?
something you did yesterday.
No, don't be ridiculous.
It's true.
You're trying to make out that I'm some
Anyway,
sort of
so did
dementia
you get down
victim.
on one knee?
No.
Did you have a ring?
No, I got up and she walked in the room. She had a pinny on because she was in the kitchen.
She had a pinny on?
Yeah, and I
She's making your dinner?
she was a very attractive
Well, what
lady.
were you doing?
I was sitting there literally reading the paper and listening to this and, drinking a glass of wine and waiting for her to put the dinner on the table.
Right.
And she came in to say something, and this line came on, and I got up and grabbed her, whirled around like we were dancing, to the David Bowie song, and then proposed to her.
But what did you say exactly?
Well, what you say to people when you propose to them.
I mean, it's very important. This is the bit that's important.
Well, I think I said
I mean, so you hold her in your arms.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
And you stopped whirling, presumably.
No, we whirling, and I was nuzzling her ear, and I said, "You're right. We should get married."
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get married.
Yes.
That was it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And what happened then?
She rang her sister.
Right.
And told her sister.
Right.
And by the way, the dinner went to hell. It just, she was so excited she couldn't serve it.
Right.
And
so she accepted. I mean, did she say yes? I mean, was there a?
Oh, well, she'd been pressing me for a proposal.
But it's not really a proposal,
for months.
Is it?
Well, it was.
It's a proper proposal. You have to say the words.
And
will you marry me?
And it kind of okay, but anyway,
But
what I'm saying.
okay.
And then,
but then what happened? How come you didn't get married then?
Well, about 3 days later, I woke up.
You sobered up.
No, it wasn't a question of sobering up. I wasn't that bladderated, really. I wasn't that intoxicated, to be honest. We were just having a few drinks on a Saturday evening,
Yeah.
And I just decided that I'd made a mistake.
You decided?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
And so then I had to ring her up and say I'd rethought the whole thing through. And it wasn't going to happen,
right?
I'm afraid.
What, you said this on the phone?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Well, I said, look, do you want to come round? But then that would have meant her getting on the train and I have to go and pick her up at the station and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And she said, well, what do you want to tell me? What's so important? Because she said, you sound very cold and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to admit that I thought that it was...
And why did you think it was a bad idea?
I don't know.
You got cold feet?
Maybe. Or maybe something happened in the job or something like that and I realised I was going to have to move or something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Right.
But anyway, that was the position. And she was not best pleased.
I bet she wasn't.
In fact, she called me some very, very harsh things over the phone.
I bet.
Which are not repeatable.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but anyway,
where was she from, Lorraine?
Walworth in South London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She lived in a flat there.
I think I met her actually.
Yeah, I think you probably did.
Yeah.
But it
she still worked with you though.
What?
Did she not still work in the same office?
No, she'd left by then and started work at the Daily Mail,
right,
where she had progressed from being a secretary to being in the listings department. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so she's gone up a bit, that kind of stuff. That's right, yeah.
So you think she's still there?
No, but I mean, look, what I can say is, and I'm delighted to be able to report back, is she then met some other chap who was a lot better than me and got married.
You put yourself down again.
No, very happily had family and children and all that kind of stuff. Her life worked out brilliantly, so I was delighted for her.
Well, I'm delighted for her as well, because if she'd married you, her life would have been a living hell.
Well, it might have been, because I wouldn't have been any good at marriage. I think
you're right.
I think that was exactly the reason.
Right.
I thought I can't subject this young lady to it. I think I did it for her, not for me.
Right.
I wasn't trying to wriggle out of anything. I just thought,
you were.
and this is going to be a disappointment to her, so I just thought I'd better say
that.
Again,
I'm staggered. You know, this is a story you've never told me.
That was only 3 days.
You've never told me that you proposed to anyone.
It was only 3 days, and one of her worst problems was her sister had already bought a dress for what was going to be the ceremony, because we'd agreed it was going to be register office only.
So you'd actually gone to the trouble of discussing how it would all be happening?
Well, briefly, but I didn't realise when you say that to a woman, she's like writing it down in stone.
Yeah.
And it's all, you know...
We've got like Rory McIlroy's scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, I suppose
when
it
he
is.
Suddenly saw the invitations, he suddenly went, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do this.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
So you broke her heart, basically.
Well, I didn't mean to. I tell you what,
count.
I tell you what happened.
It doesn't matter whether you meant to.
A conversation happened when she
time,
said, "Yeah, hang on, just very briefly." She said, "Well, of course, we're going to have to move to a bigger house, aren't we? If we're going to have children and all this kind of stuff." Because I lived in quite a nice house. It was
children. That could have been the thing.
Well, I know. It was called a townhouse, and it was the end of a terrace of townhouses. We had 3 floors and 3 bathrooms. Great house. She said,
en suite.
Yeah, all en suite, yeah. And then she said, I said, really, why? You wouldn't need a bigger house than this. She said, well, of course you will. You know, there's not enough room on the ground floor, you know, if you're going to have children, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then she said, now, how much do you earn? And she started writing all these figures down. And then she added her salary in. And then she said, so we could get a mortgage for this amount and all that. And I thought, what have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done?
Yeah.
You know.
Commitment.
Yeah.
You're a commitment phobe.
Maybe.
That's
I don't
what it
know.
comes down to.
Anyway, I hold my hands up and I'm delighted.
I'll tell you my proposal.
She will have had a much, much better life than me, which is great.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you and good luck to her. This is Talk Sport.
The Season Ticket with Danny Kelly. Saturday night from 9 on Talk Sport. Please have your Talk Sport documents ready for inspection as conductor Kelly makes his way through the show with a fully stocked trolley of hot and cold football debate, post-match snacks, and an exciting range of guests and callers. All aboard for Super Saver fair comment and first-class chat, dissecting all the day's drama.
I love football! I love it!
Saturday night from 9 on Talk Sport. Now, please make sure you take all of your belongings with you and have a pleasant onward listen.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, it's Porkyvision, of course, and it's going to be very, very exciting this week, as indeed it was last week. I'm looking forward to that. Right now, though, we're going to talk about the Playboy Mansion.
Yes.
We mentioned yesterday that it was up for sale. We're going to get to our favourite lady in California now, Ms. LaDonna Harvey from KOGO Radio, to find out if she's ever been there for a start. LaDonna, very good morning to you.
Hello. No, I've never been invited to the Playboy Mansion. Such a misstep, I think, on Hefner's part.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm sure you'd have one of those rather seedy stories about the grotto.
You would think, but I at least have a feeling that if you walked into that grotto with a black light, you would see plenty of seedy stories.
Yeah, I don't even want to go there, but thanks for putting that one in my head.
We certainly don't. I mean, LaDonna, in reality now, and, you know, the year is 2016, is Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Mansion and the whole Playboy cult not now just a sort of standing joke of an era that's come and gone and is well banished to the dustbin of history?
You know what? Never underestimate, though, the power of history to bring people in. Look, we don't have Buckingham Castle. We don't Buckingham Palace. We don't have anything even like that. We have the Playboy Mansion. So that's what we get, and that's what you get.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
I'm thinking that you win, but yeah, I think somebody will eventually buy it. Probably a consortium that wants to develop the property.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because what we keep hearing over here, and when we saw the reports the other day, there were no interior shots allowed. Apparently, they wouldn't let any film crews
so dilapidated
inside because apparently it's pretty run down inside. And people have said variously over the last couple of days as well that it's in a pretty bad state of affairs, and you wouldn't necessarily want to keep it there.
Yeah, now I do know people who actually have been to the Playboy Mansion, and the way they described it is that, you know, where you were walking, you fully expected to see either dog poop or toenail paring.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of that way inside.
And it's got a zoo license, right, as well. So presumably there's all kinds of, you know,
monkeys, cockatoos.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking
parrots.
there'll be a bit sort of manky looking, you know,
yeah,
bit sort
toucans.
of You know, like when you go to one of those zoos that's the locks have all broken and the animals are just running it themselves. That kind of place.
Right, yeah. So,
yeah, I get the feeling that Michael Jackson would have felt perfectly at home there.
Well, yeah. Well, what became of his place, by the way, LaDonna? Because that was going to be knocked down, wasn't it? Neverland, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I would love to tell you that I knew the answer to that question. I don't.
No.
You know, I have no idea.
I think did they not go through?
I think it's still standing.
Yeah, did they not go through the place and sell off loads of stuff like the Ferris wheel and all the kind of the rides and all of that?
Yeah. But anyway, LaDonna, can you tell us something about the neighbourhood in which this Playboy mansion sits? Because what I'm trying to say is that if it is so, dilapidated and now downbeat and all that, is it not an embarrassment to some of the best property in the world, which is just round the corner, inhabited by some of the most famous people in the world?
Right. Well, it's called the Platinum Triangle. So you have Brentwood, Beverly Hills.
I thought that was something else inside the Playboy Mansion, the Platinum Triangle.
Ignore him,
if
LaDonna.
You had triangles there.
Yeah, ignore him, LaDonna, please. Just keep telling us about the real estate.
I will. The real estate is some of the priciest real estate in the entire world. So it's right there. Beverly Hills, Brentwood. That area is called the Platinum Triangle, and it is very, very luscious and very expensive. And the thing is, when they bought that mansion, it was about, I think, $1 to $2 million.
That's right.
Of course, this was a million years ago, but it's on a huge piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
So in that area, you have a lot of what we call McMansions.
Yeah.
So, huge houses on tiny little plots of land.
Yeah.
Whoever buys that actually can probably make their money back at least 4 times.
Right.
Even at that inflated price, and even waiting for Hef to die, because he comes with the house.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, but the other wrinkle, I suppose, to it is it's not just he that comes with the house.
Wrinkly.
It's good, isn't it? You think I did this for a living.
Yeah.
Now, it's his wife Crystal as well that stays there with him, and presumably she's not anywhere near as ancient as him. So if he does peg out, and finally, you think you've got the place to yourself, presumably she will stake some kind of claim and say, well, hang on, I'm only 27 and I'm going to live here for another 60 years.
You know what? Maybe he's made it worth it.
Yeah.
Remember, she left him at the altar once, so that's the art of the deal right there, to quote Donald Trump,
right.
As much as I hate to. She made herself a better deal the second time around, so I don't think I'd worry too much about her. I'm sure she signed off on this.
Oh, no, I'm sure. Yeah. But what I'm worried about is that she's going to be living there for, decades.
I don't know that she would want to.
No.
Isn't she just sort of sitting there waiting for the old guy to, leave this mortal plane?
Presumably, she's nothing more than a sort of nursemaid to old Hef, who's so knackered and dilapidated now that he needs 2 bottles of Viagra just to be able to pick up his cup of coffee.
Yeah, to help him with his arm movement. Yeah,
that's right.
Now, funnily enough, we were talking about proposals. I happen to know, LaDonna, I hope I'm not giving anything away here, that you got married relatively recently, didn't you?
Yeah, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, and well, that's
for the first time like ever.
Yeah, I know, but for people like us, that's relatively recently, right?
Yes.
Now, Porky was just telling me this is a man that I've known for 30 odd years, maybe longer. Has told me for the first time about how he proposed to this woman while he was dancing with her in his apartment to absolute beginners. And it was a very touching story, but somehow our listeners have not really picked up on that and thought that it was ridiculous. So I was just going to ask you whether your proposal, when your man proposed to you, if that was the way round it happened, was that? Could you tell us how romantic that was?
Well, it wasn't terribly romantic. We were sitting on his back porch overlooking a beautiful canyon, having a cup of coffee, and I looked at him and I said, so I kind of figure we're going to be married in a couple of years. And he looked at me and he kind of had that blank, look in the headlights thing. And he went, yeah, okay. He actually looked kind of
So you threw
sick.
the prenup down straight away and just made him sign it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was it.
Pretty much, yeah. It was like, okay, so we're going to seal the deal right here.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's LaDonna. I've always thought about you as a woman of action, and that clearly is the case in your domestic life as well as your business life. So that's clearly the way to do it.
Yeah. Well, so what's going to happen to this mansion then? Is anyone in the market to buy it, or is it going to be a development company that buys it and turns it into 4 different sort of mansions, as you said?
Well, if I had to guess, I would say it would be a development company, and it would probably go for substantially less than $200 million. If they got over $100 million for that dump, I would be shocked.
Yeah, for that dump. Yeah, that's a nice way to describe the Playboy Mansion.
Perhaps Rupert Murdoch will buy it for his new bride.
Yeah, Jerry Hall.
Yeah,
that came as a shock, didn't it, LaDonna?
Yes.
Yeah, it did. By the way, we saw a picture years ago of Hugh Hefner arriving in this country in the Playboy jet, which had the logo of the Bunny Club on the back, on the tail fin. Is that parked up there somewhere?
What, in the mansion?
Yeah.
No.
Well, old John Travolta.
No.
John Travolta's got an airstrip next to his home, hasn't he, in that part of the world?
I don't think it's next to his house.
No,
It is.
It's next to his house in Florida. So Florida has a lot more property than California.
Right, okay, yeah.
It's probably parked in a hangar somewhere at a private airport.
Yeah.
Or maybe John Wayne.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It probably is. Or maybe, if it's as dilapidated as the house, it isn't even airworthy these days. The engines have probably fallen off.
Yeah.
A bit like
Can't get up in the air.
A bit like Hugh's, undercarriage.
Yeah.
It might have fallen off.
That was the inferred thing that I said.
Exactly.
You have to explain it. Anyway, listen, Donna, I hope you're feeling well, and,
Yes.
and we shall talk very soon.
Indeed, thank you.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Porky, good talking to you.
And yourself, LaDonna. Very nice to talk to you. Take care now.
The delectable LaDonna Harvey. Wonderful stuff. One more message here that I must read out to you.
Yes.
Malcolm Crosby is now managing Killingworth and Cramlington Paperboys 11, and he's still rubbish, says Jerry.
Poor Malcolm.
Guy. You've totally stitched this guy up.
He's really getting it tonight.
Absolutely incredible. Loads more coming up on the two mics.
Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare to be amazed and astounded by Colin Murray's Carnival of Curiosities, featuring a feast of fascinating facts and a farrago of fiendish falsehoods to untangle from the tantalising truths, as Mr. Murray delights and astonishes you with his assortment of amicable acquaintances. Don't miss Fact or Fiction, every Thursday morning from 10 on Talk Sport, with Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam, scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss. Contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
Come down to the Den tonight to watch Millwall play Oxford United in the Johnston's Paint Trophy Area Final. Tickets are priced from £10 for adults, £5 for over 60s and under 16s. Get yours now at millwalltickets.com by calling 0844 826 2004 or from the Millwall Ticket Office. A £1.50 per ticket booking fee may apply. Come on, you Lions!
If you fancy a flutter on the football, a gamble on the golf, a double on the darts, or a treble on the tennis, you're in luck. Get closer to the action every weekend with Betway's Man in the Know on the Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn. Bringing you all the form on the football, the going at Goodwood, the tries at Twickenham, and the overs at the Oval. Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on TalkSport with Betway. Bet now at betway.com.
Talk Sport. Radio willing to run till it drops.
Yes.
Talk Sport.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe it's not too late.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, Porkyvision is going to be along, and I'm looking forward to it very much. Best TV review this side of Timbuktu or anywhere else, really. We'll talk some more about marriage proposals as well. Roy says this: Porky's proposal story made him sound almost likeable, especially admitting she has had a better life with the other guy.
Absolutely.
That is extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Simon says, MG, tell Porky off. Neverland. I nearly crashed the car.
What do you mean? It is Neverland, isn't it?
No, it was Neverland.
Yeah, okay, we'll Neverland then, okay.
It's Neverland.
It's just a pronunciation.
Pumpty says, in Britain we have Porky's penthouse instead of the Playboy mansion.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And here's one from...
but that's not dilapidated.
No, it's not, no. It's just got a new wet room put in, hasn't it?
Yes.
James says, here's what Porky said, I will give you the privilege of marrying me.
Yeah, I didn't
imagine.
I didn't, no, I didn't, no.
And Def says, Porky proposing to absolute beginners, I'm genuinely moved, brackets to... what he says where he's moved to, so I'm not actually going to read out.
No, thank you, please don't. Sounds revolting.
Laura says, laughing my head off at the two mics with Mike Parry's marriage proposal.
What do you mean laughing?
Who said romance was dead?
What's Laura laughing at? I mean, that was a pretty romantic interlude, wasn't it?
Well, not really.
Why not?
I mean, she's there in a pinny,
yes,
right,
yeah.
making your dinner.
Yes.
I mean, as if that wasn't enough of a kind of a look into the future for her to think to herself.
Well, she volunteered.
This is going to be my role in life.
Yeah, not at all, not at all.
Which is obviously which is how you saw it, right? You were
I didn't.
You were going to have this woman as your kind of domestic slave.
No, not at all.
Goddess.
It was just a nice domestic.
Well, she was never going to come home and find you cooking for her.
No, of course not. But I mean, that wasn't an issue at all. You're making something out of nothing here. It was just a very nice evening. It was a summer's evening, I remember. The sun was streaming in through the Velux windows. We lived in that sort of place then. And
the Velux windows?
Yes, they're the ones that you build into the the roof,
Yeah.
And I just thought the moment is now. I just felt inspired, that was all. Anyway, it's no great issue.
No, I'm very touched that you shared the story.
So, are you going to share yours with us then?
Hey, I will do. How about this from Graham?
Yeah.
He says, I was really touched by the marriage proposal of Porky's, and I feel he put himself down a bit there. Quite touched by that as well.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. But I mean, I would have had it on my conscience had I.
You see, I smell a rat here.
What?
I really do. Because whenever you tell one of these stories that kind of makes you look like a bit of a vulnerable personality.
Well, I wasn't trying to do that. I was just telling the truthful story. I wasn't at all.
You're always trying to garner the sort of sympathy of the audience.
That's absolutely untrue. That is absolutely untrue. I was not trying to garner any sympathy. All I did was tell exactly, to the detail, the story of the marriage proposal. Right. It was as simple as that.
Right, well, here's one from Eamon, the Villa fan. He says, what a lucky escape for that young girl, Porky. She would have been stuck with the English Hugh Hefner minus the girls and the money.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
And the jets. And the mansion.
Yeah, exactly.
And the grotto.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, my story was I suppose, relatively romantic, but also, to some extent, it was kind of stage managed, because believe it or not, I was in Costello's in New York, and we talked about getting married.
So this is just to explain to our listeners, this is the biggest newspaper bar in America.
Yes,
probably inhabited by up to 60 English and American hacks on a Friday evening.
Yes, but we were there actually in the afternoon on this particular moment, and I think I decided that this was the day I was going to do it. I mean, we talked about it for a while, and in fact. My ex had kind of proposed to me, more or less, and said, I want to get married.
Yes.
But her father had died, and I said to her, look, I don't really want to be in a position to get married until I can pay for it. I don't want to be reliant upon your mother to pay for it. Don't want to have the wedding outside of New York. I want to make sure I pay for it and all that. So we'd come to the point where, yes, this is going to happen. But I still was going to kind of surprise her. So I bought a wedding. I bought an engagement ring. I'd been out to this jewellery store in Long Island.
Why did you go to Tiffany's?
I didn't want to go to Tiffany's because I'd worked out that she wanted a kind of estate ring. She didn't want a new one.
Right.
So in fact, the ring that I bought her was very similar to Lady Diana's.
Is it second hand?
It was, yeah.
Right,
It's called an estate ring.
Yeah.
It was quite expensive.
No, these things are, yeah.
It was like a blue, I think blue topaz with diamonds around it.
Okay.
And I was taken out to this place by actually it was Ivor Key's wife.
Yeah.
And Maggie and Bob Smith's wife.
Yeah.
Who said they knew this great place.
Doreen and
they
Maggie.
knew the guy, yeah. So I'd got the ring and everything. So I'm in Costello's, and I thought, well, I've got to just find a place to go and do it, because I can't really propose to her in Costello's.
Yeah.
So I went to the little telephone booth in the corner, which had a closing door.
Yes.
Like Superman booth.
Absolutely.
Rang the Rainbow Room, and I said, look, I want to come to the Rainbow Room this afternoon, which is at the top of Rockefeller Center.
Yeah.
It's a great location. I said, I want to propose to my fiancée. Because I think I guess we hadn't got formally engaged.
Right.
Everybody kind of knew we were going to.
Right.
And so, and they said, oh, terribly sorry, sir, we're closed this afternoon.
Right.
And I said, well, what time do you open again? And they went, well, 6 o'clock or something like that. And by this, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
So it was 4 hours of drinking.
And I thought, I'd be completely bladderated if I wait till 6.
Yeah.
And that might not go down so well. So I then immediately thought, I know, I'll ring the World Trade Center.
Yes, and
the
Windows on the World.
So I rang them, and they said, oh, yeah, we're open all day. And I said, great. I said, I'll be down there in about an hour. And I remember the guy saying to me, good luck, sir. Because I told him what I was doing.
You told him it was a proposal.
And I remember saying to him, I said, she's not going to say no.
Yeah.
I said, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And which I think he thought was slightly presumptuous.
Yes.
Anyway, we got there, and we got a little table overlooking the entire, New York harbour.
Yes.
And the city.
I've been there. I used to take Jamie there.
Fantastic. And ordered some caviar, and they brought along the caviar in the ice with all the different capers and onions and all the rest of it around it. Bottle of champagne, and as we had the first glass of champagne, I got down on one knee.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I'd love to have seen that.
Why?
Well, these days you got down on one knee, you wouldn't get up again.
Yeah, well, of course I knew you would say that.
Yeah,
but in fact, I was probably actually fatter then than I am now.
No, I don't think so.
I think I probably was.
Yeah.
This is about 1987.
Did you feel flushed with romance or...
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Did you?
I mean, we'd had a few drinks as well.
Yes.
I thought
there's
no way you can do a proposal properly unless you get down on one knee and actually issue the words.
Right.
Will you marry me?
Did you get a round of applause from everybody else in the restaurant?
No, there wasn't anybody else really around. Really? It was in the middle of the afternoon.
Oh, I see.
So I quite liked it that way. I didn't want a round of applause.
Isn't it a shame that Doreen and Maggie weren't there, as they'd helped you on the mission to buy the ring? Shouldn't they have been there?
No, you don't propose to people with an audience.
You do normally, and then people give you a round of applause.
Well, what did you do?
Yeah, well, that was in the privacy of my home.
So why are you not practising what you preach?
Well, if I was a true romantic, I'd have done it Richard Gere style. I'd have marched into the workplace and said,
well,
right,
you didn't work in a factory, though.
No, should have done in a newsroom.
You would have walked into the newsroom of the Daily Mail.
Absolutely.
No, you would have been beaten to a pulp by all the people that hated you.
Well, maybe, that's true. But, I'd have walked in, so, right, listen up, everybody, I want you to witness this.
You wouldn't have got past the security on the front door.
I probably wouldn't, you're absolutely right. But, no,
Why are you ruining my story? I haven't finished it yet.
No, sorry, please finish, yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
I thought you had. I thought you got down on one knee and proposed.
Well, I got down on one knee.
Susan obviously said yes, because you eventually got married. I came to your wedding.
And said, hang on, I said the words, will you marry me?
Yes.
And she said yes, and she burst into tears, and I gave her the ring.
Yeah.
And I think the waiters came over and gave us a little bit of a round of applause.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But there wasn't very many other people there.
Did you get a free bottle?
No.
No,
but I'll tell you what worried me.
Miserable.
I'll tell you what worried me is that I said to them as I left, because they gave me quite a big jar of caviar.
All right.
And, we only ate about maybe a third of it.
With the biscuits?
Biscuits?
Yeah.
No.
Don't you scoop caviar out of the bowl with, biscuits?
Well, no, there was a spoon in the caviar.
Oh, I see.
And they gave us some crackers. If that's
yeah,
what
the
you mean.
Crackers. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Biscuits, no.
Yeah.
And you put some capers on, you put some eggs, boiled eggs. They separate the yolks and the whites and all that. And it's very nice. Some anchovies as well. But I said to the guys we were leaving after I was paying, I said, what do you do with that caviar? I said, because we didn't, I said, you didn't charge me for like the whole jar. The whole jar. He said, well, we only charge for how much you use. I said, yeah, but what do you do with the stuff we don't use? And he was like, well, we just fill up the jar again.
Oh, dear.
And I was like, really?
Suppose somebody stuck a cracker in that's already been in their mouth and then got back into the jar.
Well... I don't know whether they scoop bits of it out and put it into a new thing. All I was worried about then was I thought, I'm never going back there again to have caviar.
No, don't like the sound of that very much.
Right. No. And then, of course, I mean, the most, sort of amazing image for me as our marriage was then kind of collapsing.
Yes.
Was as I was at home trying to figure out whether the marriage was going to work. The World Trade Center was attacked by the terrorists in 9/11.
Shocking.
And Wonders of the World was no more.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was so glad that I did when I lived in America, because, of course, it was down the bottom end of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Never used to go there in those days. There was nothing really.
Well, I used to go there quite a lot because she used to work down there.
Oh, I see.
She worked in World Trade 7.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was nothing really. And these days, you got Soho and all that kind of stuff. But there was nothing between Midtown and the bottom, was there?
There was.
There wasn't a lot in those days,
loads.
Mike.
No, there was loads.
There were lofts and things, but they hadn't really developed it much.
Well, no, I mean, I was there. I mean, maybe a couple of years after you left.
Yeah,
because I used to go to Tribeca all the time.
Yeah, Tribeca.
Where there were some great restaurants.
But anyway, what I was going to say was I used to go there with Jenny all the time, and the view over the harbour was just so spectacular. It was breathtaking.
Yeah.
And of course, that was my first thought when they went. Well, apart from the 3,000 people who died, of course, the fact that they'd never be able to replace that as one of the world's great views.
I know.
But apparently they have. You haven't been up the new one, have you?
No, I haven't. No, because in fact, last time I was in New York, they just about finished it.
Right, okay.
But it wasn't actually open to the public. I think it opened about a month or so later.
Right. Well, we'll have to do that.
We
definitely.
Should. Yeah. And also the pools as well, the memorial pools, which I haven't been to.
No, I haven't.
Are apparently breathtaking.
No. Yeah.
But there we are. We've got lots more to talk about.
We certainly have.
You haven't. I'm surprised at the reaction that people have taken to your little story about marriage proposals.
You're actually now trying to traduce my
no, I'm not.
my reputation. Indeed,
I'm just suggesting,
you're trying to tell me.
I'm just suggesting that you've told this story about yourself,
yes,
which you've never told before, right?
Well,
there's hardly any stories that I've never heard of yours.
But it's never been relevant. The relevance to it was that when I got home last night, funny enough, and I was sifting through all the Bowie records, I came across this one. I absolutely love you. Where was that? And I thought, I just remember where I'd heard it and what it connected to. That's why I told the story.
Right.
But you maliciously have tried to turn it round and say, Porky only told you that story because he's trying to get all you bleeding heart individuals to start liking him. I didn't tell the story for that reason at all.
Well, that's seemingly what the result is, though. People are saying they were touched by your story.
Well, I can't help that. I mean, if that's the way it came out, that's fine. But for you to say I'm deliberately trying to play on the...
Well, that's what you normally do.
The angst and the conscience of our millions of listeners,
no, you're
crazy.
No, because you're always playing the victim card. card.
Crazy.
You know, you're always playing the victim card.
I never play the victim card.
Yeah, you do. You play
I don't want to be a
time.
victim. I never say I'm a victim. I'm a leader of men. I'm not a victim.
I wouldn't say that.
I'm not one of these guys, you know, who shouts out, "Where is my army? For I am their leader." The army behind me shouts, "Oh, leader."
Here's one from Laura who says, I was laughing at the pure romance. She says, I bet Mike Parry didn't get down on one knee. Well, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
And he's already said that.
I was dancing at the time, and I whirled her around and nuzzled her ear and whispered in her ear and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Right. Tom says this, I wouldn't put it past Porky to bring home a Wetherspoons mixed grill instead of cooking for her. I am a provider.
Well...
By the way, there was a great story that I saw about Wetherspoons the other day. I don't know if you saw
I
this.
did. About the carpets.
About the carpets.
Isn't it fantastic? They've got nearly...
I'm not sure what to make of it, really.
Well, they've got nearly...
everything else in Wetherspoons is identical to every other Wetherspoons.
That's right.
Apparently, apart from the carpet.
They've got nearly 800 pubs, Wetherspoons, right, run by Tim...
The guy whose
Martin,
name you always forget.
Tim Martin. No, we
mate.
don't. We met him on the train up to Birmingham. Great guy. And
no, you met him on the train.
Yeah, well, I thought we both
You
did.
met him.
Yeah.
No, you met him on the train.
Yeah,
monopolised him for about 10 minutes, and then sort of vaguely waved towards me as he was walking away.
Yeah,
to introduce him to me.
It's the guy who carries my bags. I told him that's the guy who carries my bags over there, and who runs great establishments in my view. But you're absolutely right. Nearly 800 pubs, and every single Wetherspoons pub has got a different pattern on its carpet, and some of them are award-winning. Apparently, there was one they mentioned, didn't they, about gold flags,
Axminster or something,
gold flags on a blue background and all this kind of stuff. Wonderful! What a great statistic.
Richard's got a question for you.
Right?
Did Porky's proposal end up in Rogerisation?
Oh, well, that had been going on for a while, of course. I mean,
well,
you know,
no, but I think he means on that particular night.
Oh, probably.
Is that why the spag bowl got forgotten?
Well, probably, but I mean...
He sort of fall helplessly onto the sofa.
Yeah, but I mean, this was a very attractive girl I'm talking about, so that was quite an important part of the whole relationship, you see what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, you know what I mean.
What?
She was a very attractive girl.
Yeah, so?
So?
What do you mean? So what was an important part of the relationship? The fact that she was attractive?
No, the question you just asked, the Rogerisation bit.
Yes,
right, okay. Yes. Couldn't you work that out for yourself?
Well, I just prefer you to be specific.
Well, I'm being specific, but I don't want to be, I don't want to be
be
getting into the smutty end of things, you know what I mean?
It's not smutty to talk about sex. There's nothing wrong with talking about it.
Well, you know, some people think it is.
Well, yeah, I know you do, because you've got this kind of Victorian attitude to it.
Well, no, I just think that, there's certain things that you don't talk about.
It's got to be done in the dark.
No, I'm not sure about that. No, I don't. Don't be ridiculous.
David says this, Porky's Playboy penthouse suite for sale with locked room, leaky roof, and room for a couple of chairs on the balcony.
How very funny.
And you could make a grotto out of the wet room, I suppose.
But you see all these people sending all these ridiculous sort of fantastical images of my place because of the way you tell it.
No.
Not the way I tell it.
No, you sent a picture out of your roof garden.
Yes.
And everybody fell about laughing.
No, they didn't. They thought it was a beautiful...
10 paving stones and a bench for one.
Rubbish. It was a beautiful garden. It was the height of the flowering of the flowers, if you see what I mean. And I got many, many compliments for it.
And there was a bottle of wine with one glass on the table.
Your envy of my lifestyle is so aware. So obvious.
Look at the time.
So there.
Look at the time.
So there.
Honestly. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be, all things being equal, a podcast coming out about 6 hours from now, of course. And tomorrow night, just in case anyone's forgotten, it's the Porky Quiz. It's going to be on David Bowie.
Yes.
And I know the independent quizmasters have been squirreling away, working very hard to try and come up. Maybe quite a few musical-type questions coming up is the clue that I've been asked to give you. So you might want to bone up on some
Say that again.
Quite a few musical-type questions. Obviously, it'll be a lot about his music. Now, Def says this. Porky's proposal has got me whistling the tune at the end of the Hulk TV show, tugging the old heartstrings.
Really?
# shameless.
What's the tune?
I don't know. We might have to find that. We might have to get John to find that one.
I don't know about that one.
Scott says, can't believe she didn't run a mile from Porky. She must have needed Specsavers.
Are you mad?
Yeah. Prazzle says, I bet Porky actually proposed to his full-length mirror.
No, I didn't.
Which is a bit harsh.
No. The young lady was around for weeks or months beforehand.
Yeah,
and it just was a natural involvement. But anyway, look, I want to talk to you about a different sort of romance. Okay?
Yeah, go on then.
Now, this is far more you than the mushy romantic that you've just told us about. Okay?
Is this the Hulk tune?
No,
it's the Hulk tune. Yeah.
Oh, is it the Hulk tune?
Yeah, apparently.
Let's have a listen. I've never heard that before. Have you?
Well, I mean, I've watched the Hulk TV show, but I don't remember the ending.
Well, I don't remember the ending. Right, thank you very much. Fine.
Yeah.
Now then,
Dr. Banner, of course.
Sorry?
Dr. Banner.
Dr. Banner?
Dr. Banner.
That's the name of the Hulk?
That's the name of the Hulk.
That's the name of my consultant
I
doctor
know,
at Harefield Hospital.
That's why we're always talking about it.
Good God, that's amazing.
Don't make him angry.
Don't make him angry. Right, now then, now you will love this, right, because what's happening is, what is coming to this country is what is known in France as 5-accept.
5-accept?
5-accept.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Well, it's the fifth of something. 5 and...
No.
5-7, what?
It's the 5 to 7. Le 5-accept.
Oh, the 5-accept. Yeah,
and do you know what it is?
5 to 7. It's a Rogerisation code, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens? You are able now to rent a room in a hotel for 2 hours between 5 and 7.
Yeah.
In France, a lot of men, instead of going home, you know, like we go for a drink after work, this lot go and hire a room for 2 hours of Rogerisation before they get home.
I've always said one of the big problems in this country...
What, you think it's a great idea?
Well, I think it's a great idea,
What, to encourage philandering and cheating in marriage?
Well,
that's what it is.
Well, they're not necessarily in marriage,
They
are they?
certainly are.
Well, some of them might
If
be.
they weren't, they'd take them home, wouldn't they?
Some of them might be, but I mean, equally, if you're going out with somebody, sometimes it's nice to go to a hotel and you might not have enough time to rent the place for the whole night.
Yeah.
And you might indeed have to find yourself just a little spot to go for a couple of hours because the moment has taken you in that direction. Instead of having to check into a hotel and go through the rigmarole of going, you know, would you like a newspaper in the morning, sir, or a wake-up call?
Yeah.
No, I'd just like a couple of hours so I can have a bit of Rogerisation for the evening.
Well, apparently this is replacing the dirty weekend. It says now Le 5-accept...
Yeah, because people haven't got time for that.
Yeah, Le 5-accept, the 5 to 7, as the concept is known in reference to the hours for assignations, has caught on in Britain. Dayuse.com, that's DAYUSE.com, a French website that offers hotel rooms by the hour during the day, is enjoying notable success in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
The company which has a... Eh?
What, it's happening here as well?
The company...
I didn't know that.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's coming to Britain.
All right.
It's coming to Britain.
Okay.
So the company, which has 100,000 users across the world, yesterday announced a €15 million investment deal that will enable it to boost its position in Britain while expanding across the rest of the continent.
All right.
Executives insist that not all its clients are lovers. Dayuse caters for business people who need a room in which to work, or for a meeting, or travellers with several hours to wait between flights, or families wanting to give their children somewhere to nap.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, no, I do.
This is for Rogerisation only.
Well, no, not only that, because,
It is.
I mean, one of the problems of life, particularly when you work the kind of hours that I work, when I first came down to TalkSport, for example, I was still living in Scotland, and we'd come down with the kids, I think, to go and sort of turn it into a bit of it was like a half-term holiday or something like that. So I was down on the south coast, and I was asked to come in and do the overnight show at the weekends, right? And after I finished the overnight show, I think on Monday morning, I was asked to do the 10 o'clock at night show.
Yeah.
So I came out of here at sort of 6:15.
Yes.
And I could I find a hotel to go and flop down in and sleep?
Yeah.
No. The only way that I could have got a hotel would have been to book one the night before.
Yes.
Right? Not been in the room by any way, shape or form. And then kept it
till 11 o'clock.
Until 11 or 12 o'clock.
That's right.
And then gone to try and find another room.
That's right.
And I all I could do was I booked a room somewhere near Victoria, I think it was. And got down there about sort of 9 o'clock because I wasted some time having some breakfast, messing about, doing this, that, and the other. But I thought, well, I'm going to just go to the place at 10 in the morning and see what they say. And they were like, no, you can't check in until 3.
That's right.
And I'm like, well, I've been up all night.
Exactly.
What I'm supposed to do. So, whereas if they'd had this kind of thing, I could have gone there and said, look, I just need a couple of hours to have some sleep between 7 and 10 in the morning.
Okay, well, the guy who's invented this, right?
It's a great idea.
The first hotel he ever had was Hotel Amour.
Yeah.
So that tells you something, doesn't it?
I suppose it does.
L'amour is love, isn't it?
It certainly is.
The Love Hotel, where he was accustomed to le 5-accept. The practice, which was highlighted in films like Francois Truffaut's The Woman Next Door, is entrenched in France.
I like Francois Truffaut, though.
Right?
Yeah.
Dayuse is revolutionising the hotel industry, say French commentators, and it's true that we do have some illegitimate couples booking rooms.
Yeah.
Okay? What do you mean? That's what it's there for. It's for Rogerisation.
Well, not only that, though.
Hotels never used to advertise their day rates and would offer a price reduction to guests wanting to use a room after work and before going home.
I think that as a general principle, I think for hotels to have more flexible kind of usage is a much better idea than to have this kind of very restricted situation where you can only book in after 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you have to check out at 11 o'clock in the morning.
I think it's disgraceful.
Why?
Well, I mean, it just encourages people
also, imagine the situation, for example, if
to
we were...
play away from home.
Yeah, but I mean, do you really think that, if there isn't an encouragement for them to do so, they're not going to do it anyway?
Listen, the people must be married, otherwise they'd go to one or the other's single house, wouldn't they? So, for instance...
Not necessarily,
supposing I'm
not
working...
Not necessarily, no. You can have a relationship with somebody and you might never want to bring them to your house.
Well, okay, maybe not. In which case, it's a seedy relationship. It's a seedy relationship.
It's not seedy. It's just a different way of...
It is for physical gratification only.
What's wrong with that?
The pleasure of the flesh.
I
think it's immoral.
What? Which is immoral?
It's immoral, the pleasure of the flesh and nothing more. You see? I don't believe it. It's not a Christian belief. But anyway, look.
Christian belief.
Just moving away from that a bit and onto hotels in a more wider form.
Yeah.
Would you ever get involved in this B&B stuff?
B&B, no.
Because I just can't get Airbnb lettings, right?
I mean, lots of people swear by it, and you hear stories about terrible things that go wrong.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And there was a story, I think, a couple of weeks ago about the couple who rented their place out in Barnes or something, right? And the place got completely
trashed. And they rented out on Airbnb. And to explain to our millions of listeners who, like me, are not really fully au fait with this...
Well, most people probably are.
Airbnb means that you can let out your house if you go on holiday or you're away for the weekend to other people to live in it.
Yeah.
But not only that, I spoke to a lady I know who's a journalist a couple of weeks ago. She says, I've got a spare room. She said, I regularly let out my spare room for 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Through Airbnb.
Yeah. Well, and also a lot of people use it the other way, which is like if they're going, say, to New York, rather than staying in an expensive hotel, they get, an Airbnb, either a spot in somebody's house or they get their apartment to live in.
And apparently it's now a multi-million-pound business. It was started by 2 students, out-of-work students, who had nowhere to live in New York.
Yeah. I might consider using somebody else's place.
Oh, I wouldn't. Never.
Why
never.
Not?
And I've never had it in my house. Anybody ever came into my house, first time they used my bathroom, I'd have to put a new bathroom in.
Why?
Well, because I can't stand the thought of other people using my facilities.
What about, what's her name, Lorraine, when she was there?
Well, she was my girlfriend, for goodness sake. That's not a problem,
But if you have people round, which I know you don't do very often.
Yeah, OK,
but
you know
them. Go pee in the car park.
No, I'm talking about a perfect stranger, That's what I'm talking about, and I wouldn't have it. But anyway, look, it gets better than that. Apparently, the whole of the hotel industry in Europe and America is now up in arms because what the B&B thing does is it gets around all the taxes, restrictions, regulations and red tape that surrounds the hotel industry. Right. So they are undercutting the hotel industry in a massive way.
True, because I think in New York now they have what they call a sort of tourist tax. So that you pay something like, I don't know if it's $10 or $15 a night, which is a straight tax, which goes straight to the city, and a lot of other places do as well. I think there's been talk of doing it in London as well. But I don't know if they do. So I suppose if you've got an Airbnb, you don't have to do that.
Well, things like, for instance, most of the homes that people stay in on an arrangement with Airbnb don't have any insurance covering the welfare of the person inside their house. Right. So if the house went on fire...
If it burns down or something.
Yeah, your house burns down. There's no life insurance for the person inside who got burnt down, whereas hotels, by standard regulation, have to have that sort of cover and that sort of insurance.
Right.
A lot of them don't even have sprinklers and things in case there is a fire or fire alarms.
I suppose not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we are. Well, that's the risk you take.
I wouldn't have some dirty, filthy stranger staying in my house. No, I wouldn't.
Well, I mean,
I don't know why people do it.
But not all strangers are dirty and filthy.
Once you let a stranger into your house and allow them to sleep in your house, to use the bathroom, to use the kitchen, or anything else, as far as I'm concerned, that now is a buy-to-let.
Just set fire to the place.
No, that's a buy-to-let property now. Yeah. If I ever move back, as I have done...
Well, you wouldn't even let me stay in your place.
No, in a property that I owned, I would have to have the whole of the kitchen and all the bathrooms refitted out, the carpets refitted, redecorated before I'd move back in. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Which would kind of defeat the object of making money from the person, the dirty, filthy beggar that came in to stay there.
I don't care.
Very bizarre. You're so strange.
I don't care.
This is Talk Sport.
The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. This is play. Listen to Talk Sport throughout the weekend for Betfair's experts' essential guide to all the latest form and odds as all the big teams face off. Everything you need to keep ahead of the game and make sure you know where the smart money is this weekend. Enter the Form Zone every weekend on Talk Sport with Betfair. You can now get better odds after you've placed a bet with Price Rush, giving you bigger wins. Selected single bets and markets. Conditions apply.
I'm giving up chocolate.
I'm giving up smoking.
I'm giving up the couch.
I'm not giving up.
Don't just give up. Give.
Become a new blood donor. One donation from you can help save or improve the lives of up to 3 people. Register today at blood.co.uk.
Drive on Talk Sport, the UK's only sports-dedicated drive time with Sky Sports. The sharpest analysis on all the day's action from the giants of sport.
Shane Warne is with us on the show. How you doing, Shane?
G'day, guys. How are you?
Laser-guided comment and rapid reaction from a nation of sports fanatics.
Into the corner of the net.
Drive home with Darren Gough and Adrian Durham.
Who else?
Weekday afternoons from 4 on Talk Sport with Sky Sports, the home of the Barclays Premier League.
Hawksby and Jacobs.
He gave me a look and I thought, oh no.
This afternoon from 1.
You've set the agenda for loose women, as you often do.
Talk Sport.
You and 3 mates could be headed to some of the UK's biggest sporting events thanks to Heinz Big Soup. Take on the Heinz Big Soup Challenge alongside 3 of your friends, where you'll be tested on your sporting prowess, strength and knowledge.
That's right. If your team emerge victorious, you will get your fill of top sporting action. And this is the action. England versus Wales. International rugby at Twickenham. The NFL at Wembley. And England versus Sri Lanka one-day international at the Oval. And Premier League tickets of your choice, all enjoyed from the comfort of hospitality seats with complimentary food and drink.
Sounds like your kind of prize, Paul.
Yes,
if you and your
does.
mates are big enough to win this super prize, enter now at talksport.com/win to take on the Heinz Big Soup Challenge.
So you see, there's David, our one of our producers, and our top producer, our executive producer, our top tech and everything else. Well, not tech. That's John.
Why are you making such a hash of
Sorry, I'm making a hash of this.
Anyway, sake.
Head of the production team, who tells us about a friend of his who comes round, scrounges a couch for 3 or 4 days, sleeps on the couch, and generally sort of plonks herself down at his place under his roof while she rents out a place for £2,000 a week. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sorry, that's an arrangement I could never, ever possibly endorse.
But lots of people do it, and lots of people are quite happy to do it. So, I mean, I guess that's why it's become such a success. And as I said, I could imagine, going to a destination somewhere where I perhaps wanted to stay. Because the thing about,
I'd want to live in somebody else's apartment.
It's just one of the things that I used to do for people when I lived in New York was that if they were coming for a long period of time, because if you're coming, and sometimes people
you get them a serviced apartment.
I'd get them a serviced apartment, or what they call those hotel suites.
Yeah, I know.
Where you would have a little kitchen.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to buy stuff for breakfast,
That's right.
you could do that.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to do that, anywhere in New York can give you breakfast. Yes. Not a problem. But for me, and you must have found this. I mean, if I was sent on a job somewhere. And I was in a hotel for more than about 4 or 5 nights.
Yes.
It starts to get a bit tedious.
Oh, yeah, no.
And you'd rather not be in a hotel.
I've been in plenty of places where, actually, you either rented a lodge or, as you quite rightly say, almost like a bedsit type thing. I remember I was in California once for about 10 days.
Yeah.
And it was when we were being introduced to new computers. Had to go to...
I want to go and learn about how they all work.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it was... I keep forgetting what the capital of California is called.
Are you thinking of Sacramento?
Sacramento, absolutely right. And they gave us... When I landed, a guy came up and said, "Oh, Mr. Parry, there's the key to your car, there's the key to your apartment." And for 10 days, they gave me a car to drive to and from the computer company. Right. And I was living in an apartment which was just a fully fitted apartment. Yeah. Well, it wasn't fully fitted. It was what we'd call a bedsit.
Yeah.
With a
like a studio.
Like a studio with a kitchen and bathroom attached and all that kind of stuff,
And so did you spend much time in there, or did you...
Not really, around most of the time, but I think it was a financial thing. It was cheaper for them to get me the apartment for 10 days and pay for a hotel $250 a night or whatever, but it was fine.
How about this one? Peter says, Airbnb also removes housing from the rental market. It's a huge political hot potato here in San Francisco.
It does what, sorry?
It removes housing from the rental market.
Housing from
in terms of people who live in San Francisco who want to rent a property.
So like buy-to-letters.
Letters.
Letters,
really.
Yeah.
People who are looking to rent an apartment.
Yes.
Because so many apartments are now being used by this Airbnb
scenario.
I've
got it,
whereby you're basically letting short
terms,
for either a weekend or a week or maybe a month.
Yeah.
So what it does is it removes the number of rented apartments available to people who want to rent them, which is probably true.
Forces the price up.
Frazzle says, I hope the dirty, filthy Egyptian doctor doesn't listen into this show.
Well, I mean, look, I have to vet, obviously, people who are tenants in my the properties I own, and that's all done by the management company. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, somebody just told us, and I can't remember who it was, that B&B they're thinking of banning it in New York. How can you ban it? It's a worldwide phenomenon now, isn't it?
Well, I would have thought it'd be quite difficult to ban, but I suppose what they can do is say that, anybody trying to rent an apartment on this kind of organised basis.
Yes.
Because there's always been deals that used to be being done on a private basis, but Airbnb has just kind of made it into a multinational business, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sean says, the double standards from Porky are mind-blowing. All those married women he's Rogerised in the past.
Say that again?
He says that your double standards are mind-blowing.
Right.
Must have been when you were talking about how you were against this kind of temporary hotel scenario.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's one from Roy who says, they have hotels like that in Venezuela. The doors have a hatch, so you can order beer and you don't have to open the door.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's the beer come from?
Well, whoever's bringing it, presumably.
Yeah, but is that some guy downstairs, or is that a beer shop?
Yeah, well, I imagine so, yeah.
It says here on this B&B one landlord in London has listed 83 central London flats on Airbnb and earns £1 million a year from the rents for them.
I could see you thinking of this as some kind of a money spinner.
Well, it's a bit too complicated for me. The flats were effectively used as hotel rooms and would otherwise likely be residential lettings. So they're getting to the problem you've just highlighted in San Francisco.
Yeah.
If this guy's buying up all sorts of apartments and using them as B&B, that's going to force up the price of people who would previously have been buy-to-let. One thing it's been compared to, Mike, just before we get off this subject, is it is not regulated in the way that Uber is in the taxi world.
Yeah.
Uber is the threat.
People complain that Uber's not regulated much either.
Do they? Yeah.
Well, black cab drivers for a start.
Yeah. Patrick Robinson, head of public policy in Europe for Airbnb, said that the most professional landlords in the UK are providing suitable holiday accommodation. Our standards are very high. But he admitted that in some areas, professional landlords were putting a strain on London's housing stock.
Yeah.
So they've got the same problem that San Francisco have just highlighted.
Yes, I suppose so.
Amazing.
But I think there's an awful lot of reasons why there's a strain on London housing stock, but that's another story.
Yeah,
now, here's something else.
I tell you what, though, that's going to falter soon because George Osborne, the Chancellor, has landed so many taxes now on buy-to-let landlords.
Yeah.
The stamp duty has gone up by 3%. I mean, that is massive. Another 3% on a £300,000 property is 10 grand.
Well, yeah, but that only affects you when you're selling the place.
No, when you're buying it. Stamp duty's paid when you buy.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't affect the buy-to-lets that were already in existence, is what I'm saying.
No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is,
so there'll still be plenty of people able to rent property.
Yes, but those who want to get into it now are going to be put off by these huge taxes, and also I know this from my own accountants telling me.
But it's not a huge tax, though. I mean, if you think about it's not. If you think about the amount of money that you would be spending to buy an apartment in London, right? You're saying it's how much now?
An extra 10 grand stamp duty.
But where do you get the 10 grand from, though? I mean, where
it's
are you
part
getting
of the deposit?
No, but where are you getting that figure, though?
Well, because if you put an extra 3% on a £300,000 property, where you're already being charged 2.5%, so you're already paying 25%,
so what you're saying is
now pay 35%.
It's 5.5%
of
whatever you're buying the place for.
Exactly.
But if you're buying a place in London and you're going to rent it out, say it's a one-bedroom flat, chances are it's costing you somewhere north of $350,000.
Yeah, I would say so.
Right? So, I mean, you've already got plenty of money, so why not pay a bit more when you're buying it?
But you see, you say that, rich people can afford it.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying. If you're buying a flat as a business, I don't see any reason why, if it's in addition to the place you're living in, that you shouldn't pay an extra amount of capital gains tax.
And also,
effectively what it is.
He's trying to close a loophole which is going to affect people's prosperity, mine in particular.
Yeah,
and that
is why you care about it.
Yeah, I do. And that is that you can deduct the amount of the mortgage that you owe on the property away from the value of the property and the income that you take from the property and only pay tax on the balance of that. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
Well, now he's going to say no. Doesn't matter how much mortgage you've got, you still own it, so you pay tax on the whole lot.
Yeah.
I know, that is a killer. That's a killer. I mean,
I don't think it is. I mean, I think if you're running a business and you're making a profit, I don't have a problem with people paying tax on that.
Do I? But I don't like excessive taxes because they strangulate the economy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about economics. We should be talking about things which really matter to people in life.
Yeah.
One of them, of course, being the fact that coming up very shortly is Porkyvision.
Porkyvision,
It's going to be an absolute zinger, right? Yeah. I can tell you that now.
I'm sure.
Also, you mentioned, I don't know why, but an hour ago or so, you mentioned to me, you said, are you going to spend your £30 million pools win, if you win it?
The lottery win,
which I haven't won, on freezing yourself for a future...
That wasn't my question, that was a question from a listener.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Well, I found out the answer to that.
Cryogenics. All right, well, hold on to it, because we'll have to do it after Porkyvision.
Okay.
I want to read a couple of quick texts out here.
Do that.
Here's one from John in Glasgow, which is particularly clever. Porky has already experienced a sank asset after his betrothed's heart sank once she found out that he was set in his ways. That's great, isn't it?
Quite like that.
And Derek in Pencaid says this. So Porky says now that everyone he doesn't know is dirty and filthy, and he claims to be a Christian.
No,
he is a disgrace.
I didn't say that at all. I just said that, some people... And
Nom de Plume in Camden, I think, misheard the other day when we were talking about conductors, right?
Yes.
He says, evening, Mr. Parry. Just like to point out that MG was wrong to say the other day that Andre Previn is dead when he asked you to name a conductor. He is very much alive. I don't believe I said Andre Previn was dead.
No, I don't think you did.
I think I said somebody else was.
I'm pretty sure he is alive. He appeared once on the Morecambe and Wise show. That's what he's most famous for. More famous than being a conductor.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, he's never written a decent bit of music, has he?
I wouldn't say that either. This is Talk Sport, Porkyvision coming next.
The Barclays Premier League on Talk Sport. 100% football all weekend, every weekend.
Oh my word, he's put it beyond the goalkeeper.
Saturday afternoon from 5, Aston Villa versus Leicester.
And Aston Villa take the lead.
Sunday from 1, Liverpool versus Manchester United.
A counter-attacking goal of really high quality, scored by Jordan Ibe.
Plus, around the grounds with live reports from every game throughout the season. Official partner of the Barclays Premier League, Talk Sport.
Music can only be one thing. It is time, of course, for Porkyvision.
Yes.
One of the great features of this programme.
Yes.
And it went through a bit of a dodgy spell, I would say, towards the end of the year. Where
I don't think so.
People were accusing you of not spending enough time researching it. But I have to say,
I'm a busy man.
The new year Porkyvision has really come back with a bang.
Well, there you go.
And, it's been absolutely... brilliantly
Well, funny
done.
enough, I did a little slot for Hawksby and Jacobs today.
What?
Our friends Paul and Andy. I did a slot for them.
When did you get asked to do that?
I got asked to do it at lunchtime, and I did it at about 2:45.
Oh.
Yeah.
You mentioned this to me.
No, I didn't mention it to you. No, I didn't think it was relevant.
So this is more kind of outside work you're taking on?
Well, I'm in demand. I can't help it.
I mean, you're just completely and utterly shameless, aren't you?
No, they asked me for predictions for tonight's games. I did.
Did you?
And I said, well, actually, it was Paul.
Were you disparaging of me?
Not at all.
Really?
As I parted the...
I'll have to listen to it.
No, as I departed the show, Paul said, and of course, you've got the two mics tonight. I said, we certainly have, Andy. I said, and tonight it's Porkyvision. And I said, it's one of the greatest TV reviews that you'll ever hear.
So you plugged yourself?
I did, yes.
So you didn't plug anything that we do?
Well, I said it was the two mics. I said,
really?
Obviously,
you see, this is the problem. This is the problem. You talk about, it's very well saying, you're not a team player and all that.
Yes.
But we are supposed to be a bit of a team. Well, the idea that you just keep doing all these appearances on TalkSport and elsewhere.
Paul said in response, he said, I heard that before Christmas. He said, you didn't know the name of the programme that you were reviewing. It was something to do with Dickens. And you didn't know the name of any of the characters. I said, you're listening to the wrong show. Anyway, look, we shouldn't be talking about that. Have
you got any more appearances planned this week?
I'm not sure. Oh, well, I'm doing some work with Mr. Brazil this morning, actually.
Oh, are you?
Yes. That's outside
of insatiable.
That's outside of TalkSport, actually. Now, but we shouldn't be talking about this. We should be talking about Porkyvision. We only got limited time.
All right. Well, so what are we going to do this week?
Now, there's a new show by Tracy Ullman, and it's called Tracy Ullman Does Something.
It's called the Tracy Ullman Show.
Is it called Tracy Ullman Show?
Think so, yeah.
Okay.
It always was.
And she does impersonations, right?
Yeah.
And do you know what the amazing thing about it is?
What is it?
She does about a dozen impersonations.
Yeah.
The first one is Dame Judi Dench, shoplifting in a shop, but she gets away with it because the manager is in awe of her. You know, you're a national treasure.
Oh, what? But she's pretending to be Dame Judi Dench.
No, she is Dame Judi Dench.
Well, how's that an impersonation?
No. Tracy Ullman is playing Dame Judi.
That's what I said.
Yes.
So she's pretending to be Dame, you got me doing it now.
Yeah.
Dame Judi Dench.
No, Dame Judi Dench is the character in the sketch.
But
okay?
Dame Judi Dench is a real person.
Yes, I know.
But I'm asking you if she's playing...
Well, she's not pretending to be her. She is playing her. You see what I mean?
Well, of course she's pretending to be her.
She's not. That's the wrong way. That's the wrong thing to say.
All right, well, she's impersonating
She's playing the part of Dame Judi
okay, I got
Dench,
you.
right?
Because, no, sometimes with these shows, they get the real person on. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, no. It's not the real person.
Okay.
No.
Right.
But she looks very much like her. The makeup department's done a brilliant job.
Okay.
So what happens is she goes at the supermarket, starts lifting things, but then the young manager is so awestruck at James Jones, he lets her get away with it, you see. And then she goes around doing anything she wants because I'm national treasure.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Okay.
The second impersonation was also a brilliant lookalike of Angela Merkel, the Chancellor.
Angela Merkel.
Yeah. And that was very good.
Yeah.
Now, they're the first two, and they took about 4...
What was Angela Merkel doing? Was she shoplifting as well?
No, she was taking the mickey out of George Osborne and David Cameron.
Okay.
And it was very political. She is very political, Tracy Ullman, I noticed, yeah. So they were very good.
Well, she's on the BBC.
Exactly, yeah. So
when you say political, you mean lefty?
I do, I mean left-wing, yeah. So they were very good, and they were funny, and I thought this is going to be good.
Yeah.
What happened then was there were another 10 impersonations of various people.
And do they just go from one to the other?
Yeah, they just go from one sketch to another.
Does she link them in some way?
No, they're all pre-recorded sketches, and they just jump from one to the next to the next to the next. You know, a bit like Hale and Pace and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
I don't watch that.
Anyway, so successively, as you go through the next 10, they get less and less funny until actually they're completely unfunny.
Because they should get better rather than worse.
They get worse. What they put is, honestly, the editor of the whole show has said, now what have we got? Looked at the material, and he said, look, to capture them at the front of the show, we're going to use those two. They're very good.
Yeah.
A lot of the rest is complete rubbish. Honestly, it's so poor, it wouldn't get onto a television show unless it was Tracy Ullman. You know what I mean?
And so what was the worst one you saw then?
The worst one was it ended up where it's another political statement about closing down libraries.
Yeah.
So they start singing a song about Tory cuts in the library.
Right.
So the joke is supposed to be that libraries are supposed to be quiet places, right?
Yeah.
But they all ignore the silence and all start tap dancing and singing, Tory cuts are closing us down and all this kind of stuff.
It's not very funny.
It wasn't funny at all. It was completely unfunny.
Right.
There's a character they invent who runs right through the show. You know those two girls who are still locked up in Peru for being smuggling mules?
Yes.
With cocaine.
One was from Glasgow.
Yeah, one was from Glasgow and the other was from Belfast.
That's right.
She's invented a character which is clearly based on them. So again, that was the third sketch. And that was quite funny when she landed and started talking 1970s type language because it emerged she'd been locked up for 28 years in a Peruvian jail. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she was asking, where's Woolies? I need to buy some tights and all this kind of stuff. That was quite funny the first time.
Point.
But that came up 4 or 5 times, and each time it came up, it got less funny and less relevant. So I don't know what they're going to do. There's 6 episodes of this, apparently, and I've no idea what the next one's going to look like at all, because this went from being...
Because you would think also the first one would be the best one, really.
I would have given it, in the first 3 sketches, the first sketch I'd have given it 95%, the second sketch 90%, third sketch 85%.
And so on.
By the time I got to the library at the end, I was giving it -10, honestly.
Wow.
I don't know why, but she just... I'll tell you what it was. I tell you what overshadowed the whole thing. The way that she looked for
It's really hard to say, isn't it?
Dame Judi Dench.
I've never realised how hard it is to say Dame
Judi Dench and Angela Merkel.
Yeah.
Brilliant lookalikes.
Yeah.
I mean, there could have been them. She also did, the leader of the SNP and looked like her as well. Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah.
But what let them down in the sketches was the dialogue.
Yeah.
It was so poor.
Right.
It wasn't funny. The jokes weren't funny. It didn't make sense. You thought they were struggling to justify the character rather than opening the character up and making them something.
Yeah.
Like when it was that guy who used to do Brian Clough all the time. Well, young man, he's a very famous impersonator.
Yeah. Or Rory Bremner.
Rory Bremner was one of them, but Mike Yarwood. Mike Yarwood's dialogue was always brilliantly scripted by proper scriptwriters.
Yeah.
People who'd written things like The Likely Lads, Ian LaFrenne and all that.
Yeah.
But this Tracy Ullman one, I don't know who's written the scripts, but they're just not
Well,
good.
maybe she's done it herself.
Maybe, but they're just not funny. They're just not good enough. And it petered out to nothing. So I've no idea what the next 5 shows are going to be like.
Right.
Now then, another show.
Sounds like it's not much of a recommendation, to be honest.
No, honestly, I wouldn't recommend anybody to watch it. Now, we saw the second episode of War and Peace,
yes,
which was a bit better than the first in terms of the Rogerisation stakes.
I saw some business on a table.
Yeah, on a table.
On Twitter.
On a table.
A lot of people saying that's the way to lay a table.
A bit of the old rampant banging on the old table in a very posh building in St. Petersburg, you know what I mean?
Right.
Quite a lot of that going on. But the show that really caught my eye and which, I'm disturbed about was the return of Benidorm.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, Benidorm...
Why have they brought that back?
Well, they thought it was funny, and it was quite funny in previous
was that not the one that was filmed
in
a bar down near sort of Malaga?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Because I think I went to the bar. I think I was sent on a story there once to go to the bar.
Yeah.
Somebody was shot in it or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, right? Yeah, I think you're right.
The person who owned there was a sort of hangout for hoods.
That's right.
And somebody went there and got shot.
That's right. Something like that. Yeah. Now the previous couple of series that I've seen of Benidorm was very funny, and it was the typical Englishman abroad.
This was years ago, though, right?
Oh, years ago. Yeah. Wearing woolly socks by the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Wearing
handkerchief on his head.
Yeah, handkerchief on his head and all that kind of stuff. And all that kind of stuff. Where it's got to now is just ridiculous. It's just rubbish. It's a British community in Benidorm. People are arriving. They're not funny.
And is this meant to be a kind of a fly-on-the-wall type sort of documentary?
No, not at all.
It's a soap.
No, it's a soap.
Right.
And Sherry Hewson, who used to star in Coronation Street, is the manager of this hotel, which it's all based around.
Oh, okay.
And she's kind of okay-ish, and has good comic sort of skills, so to speak. But a lot of the rest of the actors are just rubbish, honestly. Yeah. It is drivel. It is utter blinking drivel.
Is that like prime time show now then?
Well, it's kind of prime time. Yeah. It's on about sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that.
Oh,
but anyway, look, what really distresses me is I have very fond memories of Benidorm. I used to go there as a callow youth, aged 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And I wish they'd represented it like it was then. So what we used to do is we used to go drinking all night.
Yeah.
Like until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Till the music sort of quietened down in the discos.
Yeah.
And then you would
go to sleep on the beach, presumably.
No, you'd try and have sex on the beach always. That was the way to finish the night.
Right.
Find a quiet place on the beach and loads of Rogerisation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after that,
even after all that drink.
Yes, even after all the drink. Yeah, because the drink was. It was free usually in the discos, but it was very weak.
Yeah.
You had to drink about a gallon of wine before you felt like you'd had one glass of the sort of wine you and I drink. You know, but nevertheless, you didn't care. There was dancing, getting a grip of a young somebody or whatever
from England or from anywhere.
Germany. I once had sex on the beach in Benidorm with a German girl. Sorry, what's your problem? I don't know
You've suddenly gone from saying, some kind of, against your Christian morals.
Yeah, sure.
To telling me about sex on the beach with some German.
Oh, yeah, this German girl was about 5 years older than me. Yeah, she loved it. It was no problem at all. But anyway, and then what you do
What's her name?
I don't honestly know.
Really?
I was going to say...
Did you ever know?
I think it was... It's
Gretchen?
No, I think it was Gretel, actually, or something like that. Yeah, but I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Hansel wasn't around.
Well, no, I don't know about that. So anyway... And then what you'd do is you would then go for the full English breakfast.
Yeah.
The signs outside, real English
Egg
breakfast.
And chips and all that.
Yeah, well, I don't eat eggs, but I mean, the bacon and sausage, all kind of stuff.
You have a full English breakfast without eggs.
Oh, I suppose you could, yeah. So then you'd get in there to have the full English breakfast. Yeah. And then...
Was there no sleeping at all?
Well, this is I'm about to tell you. This might have been good training for the job I do now. So then you'd go next door to the pub, which opened at 7:30 a.m. To drink about 8 pints of English Red Barrel.
Right. Watney's Red Barrel.
Yeah, Watney's Red Barrel. Yeah. That's right.
Roll out the barrel.
Yeah, the barrel.
That was terrible beer.
So that would take you to about 10:30, 11 o'clock, or 12 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah.
At which time?
Did you actually have a hotel?
Oh, yeah, I had a hotel.
But you never went in it?
Sometimes got so bladderated, couldn't remember the name of it or where it was.
Okay.
That happened on a couple of occasions.
Yeah. And was it walking distance or did you have to get a cab there?
I couldn't remember. It depended which nightclub you went to because it was a different one every night and you never knew where you were. And like these days, through experience, you always walk around with your key to your hotel in your pocket, because it's not a key, it's a piece of plastic, in a folder which tells you the name and address of the hotel.
It does.
In those days, all you got was the key.
Yes.
And there was no identification.
Or sometimes it was a big key. You left it at the hotel front desk.
You did, absolutely right. And the thing is, they never put the name in it for the very reason, if somebody stole it, they would know which hotel to go and raid.
Yeah.
So you never knew which hotel you're in. I could never remember the name of the hotel.
I don't know why they've changed that principle, because they really shouldn't give you a piece of plastic with the name of the hotel.
No, shouldn't. I agree, because you could lose that easy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, sometimes you would go back to the hotel of the young lady you just met, right?
Right.
And you might stay there for 2 days or something like that.
But they would normally be sharing, wouldn't they, the girls? Or the boys?
What, sharing rooms?
Yeah, you wouldn't with their friends. You wouldn't normally have a room in the
but if you got it right, if you and your mate met 2 girls, then one of you could go back to your hotel, one you go back to her hotel, do you know what I mean?
Right.
For a bit of privacy when the old Rogerisation kicked in and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then at 12:30, after 4 or 5 pints of Watney's Red Barrel, you would then literally go and sit on the beach underneath in the shade.
Parasol.
I never sat, under a parasol. I never sat in the sun. And that was the start of the day's pickup operation, because you would then get incredibly turned on.
Sounds exhausting.
Yeah, by all these young ladies in bikinis, right? You know, because it was all young and frisky and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And then the pulling operation started, whereby you would eventually return to your hotel at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon for early evening Rogerisation.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right. With whoever was lying there.
Well, no, whatever you took back with you.
Oh, I see.
You see what I mean? From the beach.
Oh, you took something from the beach?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds very exhausting. Well, no wonder you never sleep.
No, exactly. And then you would sort of, I don't know, doze a bit till about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Then have a shower, providing the water was on. The water was often turned off in Benidorm.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but it was. You
couldn't drink the water then either.
Couldn't drink the water either, or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then you would go out for, like...
See your time, by the way.
Cocktails, right? And maybe a real English dinner.
Yeah.
Something like a Chinese or something like that. You know what I mean?
A real English dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then at about 10 o'clock, you would hit another sort of Watney's Red Barrel bar.
Right.
By the way, you were drinking cocktails all afternoon on the beach. There was always a guy to bring your cocktails.
Cuba Libras,
Yeah,
right?
Cuba Libre. Well, my favourite was always the Harvey Wallbangers or the Sundowners.
Okay.
And then at midnight, that's when you hit the clubs again. And you're in the clubs from 12 till 6 a.m.
I'm knackered just listening to you.
And then it was sex on the beach again.
Yeah.
And you started the process all over again for 14 days, you see.
So there's only about 2 hours of sleep going on here.
Well, something like that.
24-hour period.
Something like that. You seem to live on adrenaline and all that. So I wish that the TV programme Benidorm represented that way of life, because that's what Benidorm means to me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, I must say, it sounds like a lot more entertaining than whatever there's on on TV at the moment.
Exactly.
And that was Porkyvision, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be another one same time next week.
Thank you.
Coming up next, I'm going to tell you about some shocking statistics that I've discovered in the course of the last few hours. This is Talk Sport.
Everyone knows that all the best things come in threes. 3 Amigos, 3 Stooges, 3 Lions. And right now, if you sign up to 888 Sport, you'll get treble the odds on your first bet. Join 888 Sport and harness the power of 3 with treble the odds on your first bet. New customers only, minimum £5 bet to qualify, maximum £10 bet at treble odds. Bet at normal odds, extra winnings added within 72 hours, extra winnings paid in cash. Maximum extra winnings capped at £5,000. See site for full T's and C's.
18 plus.
8 strangers.
One of them fellas is not what he says he is.
1 deadly connection. 3 Golden Globe nominations. The Evening Standard says it's Tarantino's masterpiece. The Guardian agrees. A masterpiece. 5 stars. Tarantino proves his greatness. The Sun. 5 stars. The Telegraph.
Oh, that's interesting.
The Hateful Eight in cinemas now. Rated 18. The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that doesn't compromise on delivering the biggest names from the world of sport.
That's the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast every weekday morning from 6 a.m. on Talk Sport. Don't miss it.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on earth. Find out more at ford.co.uk. Talk Sport. Goals galore. Give it a workout.
Oh, my word!
On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
When me sing,
I wanna have sex on the beach. Come on, move your body. Sex on the beach. I wanna have sex on the beach. Come on, there's a party. Sex on the beach.
Never gonna leave you alone. Tide is high and the groove is on.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes.
That's a good record, isn't it, eh?
Well, it's very appropriate after your last edition of Porkyvision, which, as Becky describes it, says this. So Porkyvision's turned into a story about Porky's holiday adventures, drinking, sex, English meals, and more sex.
Well, no, but I was referring, obviously, to a TV programme.
Of course.
It was a TV review.
Of course you were. And Matthew and Roy have pointed out, typical Porky classic, a real English dinner like a Chinese.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, well, you know what I mean there. I
do.
We have lots of Chinese restaurants in England, don't we?
A couple of people asking if it was Angela Merkel that you were on the beach with.
No.
But not quite in such a nice way.
Exactly.
I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Lord Rallo says, I'm stunned, but I enjoyed and somewhat followed this week's Porkyvision. Good job, Porkmeister.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
People are starting to get
Sorry,
the
who's
hang
that
of it.
from?
That's from Lord Rallo.
Lord Rallo says it was a good review.
He likes it,
well, I like that. That means a lot. Thank you, Lord Rallo. It means a lot to me.
Simon in Sheffield says, here's my description of Porkyvision this week. Dame Jane Dench and Rogerisation and bladderisation in Benidorm.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, a bit of that. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, here's this research materials that I'm going to shock you with right now. I don't know whether you saw this story yesterday. You know that when they brought in the plastic bag charge in October, there was a bit of a problem.
Yes.
You predicted that it would create all sorts of chaos.
Yes.
You predicted that people would start stealing trolleys.
That's right.
Which they did for a while.
Yes.
And stealing baskets and all that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't think now that's anything to worry about. You don't really see trolleys any more now than you used to.
Okay.
In terms, what do you mean, okay?
Yes, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
All right, well, you're doing that thing where I can tell you're not listening, though. No, you are. You're distracted already.
No, I'm listening.
You're already starting to pack up.
Please, no,
you're
I have
starting
not.
to pack up.
I'm not.
I can see what you're doing.
I'm not,
Anyway, right.
Just
Now
carry
what the problem is, according to a study that's just been done by a poll from people called vouchercodespro.co.uk.
Oh, okay.
Right? They say that people are stealing plastic bags.
Stealing them?
In huge numbers. Stealing
what, a 5p plastic bag?
The
You'd steal?
5p plastic bags, yes. Because, I mean, I've actually got
How
to
do you
the point...
steal them?
Well, by taking them without paying.
No, but they are usually supplied to you by the lady behind the checkout counter.
Well, for example, if you were to go to the self-checkout...
Well, they're all there.
What they do then...
True.
The self-checkout, what they say is they ask you a question.
Have you taken plastic bags?
Did you bring your own bag?
Yeah.
Yes or no. If you say no, they say, how many bags did you take?
Yes.
And there will be a £5 charge for each one. So I guess if you just say, I brought my own bags, and then you take
so
one of theirs...
So can these people be stopped and accused of theft?
Well, I mean, that's not clear. But the amazing thing about this study, and it was extrapolated from a number of, say, 3,000 people that they talked to, but more than 50% of those people said that in the past sort of 5 months, they have stolen a plastic bag.
I have been tempted to, but I have not.
Well, they say that they reckon that since October and the 5p levy being brought in, £27 million worth of plastic bags have been nicked.
That is incredible.
Isn't that
an
amazing
incredible
number?
statistic.
£26.7 million worth.
Right.
Mostly at self-checkouts.
Right. So that's 27 million quid, right?
Yeah.
And if they cost 5p each, that means 20 to the pound.
Yeah.
So that's that's £500 million.
Yeah, well, what they're
that's
saying...
£500 million.
How do you mean?
Well, if 20...
Well, they've already said how much million pounds it is.
No.
No, I've just told you.
Oh, bags. It's half a billion bags.
No, it's £26.7 million.
Which is £500 million bags.
Yeah.
I've just worked it out.
Right.
So it's 20 bags to the pound.
Yeah, it's an awful lot of bags.
So 10 times 27 million is 270 million.
Yeah.
Double it, 540 million. It's £500 million bags.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
And people say that one of the reasons they steal the bags is because they just don't want to pay the charge.
Yes.
Now, we've had this conversation before where in Scotland and Wales they've had this charge for a while.
Absolutely.
And it hasn't resulted in any kind of chaos at all.
That's right.
But basically, 50% of people, at the very least, are stealing these bags all the time.
It's disgraceful.
It's really weird.
I knew it would happen. Now, what happens is sometimes on the way home from, this assignation with yourself, professional assignation, of course.
Assignation?
Well, the
I've never heard it called that.
The show.
Yeah.
I do stop at a Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
Which is not very far away from here, actually. It's
the one around the corner.
Waterloo Station.
Yeah.
And I go in there,
hours.
and there's always a chap there, a very charming chap who's the overnight sort of, supervisor.
Yeah.
He's got dreadlocks.
Right.
And a very engaging sort of a chap. And he always points out to me, which machine works, because there's no people to take your money. It's all self-service that time of night.
Yeah.
It's usually like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I say, fine. As soon as you show me which machine, he's off and away, because they don't just stand there supervising.
Yeah.
They're stacking shelves and everything overnight. That's what they do.
Right.
And it would have been so easy for me on many, many occasions, but bearing in mind my car's just parked outside the front door, but if I've only got a loaf or something like that, it would be very easy just to take a plastic bag.
Yeah.
And I could see the temptation in doing it and how easily I'd get away with it.
Yeah.
Having said that, I would be caught on CCTV camera.
Yeah, you
without
would.
a shadow of a doubt, because they have cameras at night.
But presumably only if there's somebody can be bothered to actually watch the CCTV, because there's not somebody studying it all the time, is there?
No, of course not. It would be retrospective.
Yeah.
And then, if somebody did have the time to study it and say, that guy's right, check and see what his bill was to see if he paid for the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, how time-consuming is that?
Well, it's not very time-consuming, but if you had to multiply it by, say, 1 million people throughout the course of any given day in one supermarket's kind of chain of stores,
I totally
it
agree.
would be ridiculous. I actually shoplifted something yesterday by accident.
Yes. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What and how?
Well, I had to pop out to the shops to buy a couple of things. I wanted to get some wrapping paper.
Yeah.
Wanted to get a birthday card for my son, a couple of other bits and bobs.
Yeah.
And I thought I'll just pop into a supermarket, which is a very big supermarket near me, because I wanted to get a couple of bits of fish, which I was cooking, and a couple of lemons, right?
Lemons.
Now, I didn't have a basket with me.
Put them in your pocket?
No, I didn't, but I had them in one of those little plastic bags that you put the fruit in. You know?
Yes.
And as I went to the self-checkout, I had some stuff in my right hand, and I had the lemons in my left hand.
Yes.
And so I put all the other stuff, like, on the the self-checkout.
Yes, scale.
And on the scale, and paid for it and put it in and I paid for a plastic bag, funnily enough.
Right.
Because I wanted one, and I don't really care paying 5p for a plastic bag.
Yeah.
But as I was walking out of the little checkout area, I noticed that in my left hand I was still holding the 2 lemons in my hand.
You hadn't paid for them?
And I hadn't paid for them.
What'd you do?
I just thought, well, you know what? There was a queue of people who somebody had already moved on to the machine.
Yeah.
And all I did was I just chucked it in the bag and kept walking.
So you did steal them?
Yeah.
Well, blimey. And you accused me of committing crime. You did steal them?
Well, no. The point was there was a woman there who was supervising. You know, she didn't say to me, you haven't paid for those lemons. I mean, they were probably worth... 2 loose lemons probably worth about, 20p.
40p?
40 maybe.
Yeah,
I've no
I don't
idea
know how much lemons cost.
I just thought the amount of trouble...
I couldn't do that.
The amount of trouble it's going to cause... What do you mean you couldn't do it?
I couldn't do it.
You spent your entire life stealing stuff.
No, I've never stolen stuff in my life.
You've never stolen anything?
I would be...
Excuse me?
I would have been able to sleep that night if I did that.
That's not true.
No, I've never stolen stuff.
You know that's not true.
I've never stolen stuff. What have I stolen?
You've committed all manner of crimes over the years.
No, I couldn't do that.
You've stolen people's cars. You stole that car from the woman...
I'm fighting for breath here. I'm so shocked. No, I am shocked.
Well, I mean, my point is that, because of the way the place is set up, if I had gone back to the woman and said, look, I'm terribly sorry, but I appear to have, forgotten to charge these 2 lemons.
Yes.
Which also you have to weigh, don't forget, because they're loose, right?
Exactly.
And there's no machines free. There's a queue of 10 people.
Well,
if she had sent me to the back of the queue, I would have said, you know what, keep the lemons.
Yeah. Well, of course you would. Well, that's what you should have done.
And if she'd said to me... don't worry about it, just keep them.
Yeah.
That would have been fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have also maybe gone to another till and waited in line to pay for them. It was just a mistake.
I told you it happened to me once.
It was a mistake.
I never get a basket because if I get a basket, it tempts me to buy more things than I want.
Yeah.
So I just walk round and I get some...
Because you can get so much stuff in a basket.
Exactly. And I get, like, bread and then butter maybe and milk and then some lean ham, which comes in packets. And
fish fingers.
Yeah, fish fingers and all that. And then... walking down the aisle where they sell the soup and the tins and all that, I get 2 small tins of beans.
Yeah.
And I put them in my pocket, my jacket.
Uh-huh.
Because I can't...
I'm surprised you don't get picked up for that. Well, putting stuff in your pockets is a bit of a giveaway.
As long as you don't walk out.
I was holding these things in my hand.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I got to the till, I paid for everything, and then as I was about to exit the store, it's a Morrison's, actually, a big Morrison's store.
Well, you don't have to give the name.
Yeah, well, why
We're nearly
not?
out of time, by the way.
And I remembered I had the tins of beans. So I went then to the little counter that sells newspapers and cigarettes and all that. And I said, I've inadvertently walked out with these. Can I pay for them? They said, yes, no problem.
Right.
Paid for them, got a separate receipt, put them in my ear. But I couldn't have walked out and not paid. That's theft. That's terrible.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
It's terrible.
It's a couple of lemons.
It's terrible.
Well, I mean, what if I'd gone to the guy who sells the cigarettes, for example, and said, oh, by the way, I've got these 2 lemons I forgot to pay for.
Yeah.
And he suddenly said, well, we better call the police.
Well, you should have left them with him. No, he wouldn't have called the police because you hadn't exited the building, you see.
Well,
Until you exit the building. No. No, they can't accuse you of stealing it until you've left the building without paying for them.
Yeah.
So they can't.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Well,
I told you the story by reason of just trying to give you some kind of insight into my day.
I think it's disgraceful.
Well, you may well.
I do honestly think it's disgraceful.
Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow for the Porky quiz, which of course is on David Bowie. This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 mics.
Look at the light! Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the 2 mics. Presumably, she's nothing more than a sort of nursemaid to old Hep, who's so knackered and dilapidated now that he needs he needs 2 bottles of Viagra just to be able to pick up his cup of coffee.
Yeah. You have to help him with his arm movement, yeah.
And then you would go out for cocktails, right? And maybe a real English dinner.
Yeah.
You know, something like a Chinese or something like that.
If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Oh, the rocker roar will be roaring again.